Check.
Hello.
Yeah, you can tell Grant, he's the bigger one.
Yeah.
He yells into it.
I don't yell. This is the normal Grant voice.
Even your yelled isn't as big as his.
I know.
Oh, wow.
All right, let's get it going.
Okay.
Welcome to the Untitled Car Project.
Woo.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening. We are episode 8.
Today, yeah.
I'm Rob Spring.
I'm Grant Gonzalez.
Jeremy Molt.
We're here with David Pucknell today as our special in-studio guest. If you would like to reach out to us, please do. UntitledCarProject@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Good, bad, indifferent. If you've got any... I thought of this today. If a listener has any ideas, something they want to hear us talk about, let us know. I'd like to hear your input.
All of us would.
Also, we have a Instagram, Untitled Car Project, as well as a Threads and a Twitter, Untitled Car Pro. Those are all the socials that we have. Grant was in charge of Facebook, so therefore still no Facebook.
I thought we had... Okay. On that. I thought we'd had the Facebook set up.
I haven't done it.
So just for the record, he was on vacation last week and had 1,000,000 hours he could have done it.
Could have.
Yeah.
From Mexico.
A little bit. I came out back.
There was a few too many margaritas.
Too many margaritas, a lot of bridal parties on top of the wedding, and I came back with a trophy wife sash.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you say a stash?
He did.
Yes.
A sash. Oh, he's
not a stash.
A stash. I heard stash also. That's funny. So you're now a trophy wife?
No, a trophy wife, according to the 7 women that I got drunk with at the club.
I'm somebody's
bitch. You didn't bring any of them home, though?
No, I did not.
Oh.
We just focused on dancing that night.
Cool. All right. Well, I did send out show notes this week.
Yes.
Don't know if anybody looked at them.
I did.
Jeremy is turning the other way. Won't make eye contact. Did not.
I looked at the last ones, but you text them out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
I think David was the first one to get them.
Probably. He's probably the only one that read them.
Oh, wait. No, you did send them. I did read them.
I know I sent them.
Yeah.
I don't remember what they said, but I did read them.
Oh, okay.
Wow, Jeremy.
Well, in honor of David, we're going to talk about Fox bodies again. We talked a bit. We touched on them last week, and I went and did a little digging, kind of updated my knowledge because we were a little confused. Fox body ran from 79 to, was it 93? Mm-hmm. It's a long run, but that includes the Mustang 2. So the Mustang 2 technically sat on a Fox body chassis.
That's what I was about to ask, because I thought they were the same platform.
Right, yeah, okay. They did. And also learned that the Ford Fairmont 4-door sits on the same chassis.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. My sister drove one of those in high school.
Interesting.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, that's just your basic everyday family car.
Yeah, but part swapping imaginabilities.
I guess so. You're not going to get much out of the motor department because I think they were 4 and 6 cylinders in the Fairmont.
True, but styling and different little components, you could just go here and there.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I suppose you could. Anyway, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So yeah, and then the Mustang fastback Fox body that we're more familiar with.
Mm-hmm. I think one of us more than the others.
78. It came out in 78.
That's when the fastback came out?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 80s.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, we all.
Well, okay.
That. Yeah.
I'll retract that a little bit. It's 79 model.
Okay.
So they built it in 78, came out in 79, something like that. Yeah. Several different variations of motor. You know, they had the 4.9 liter V8. That was the biggest one with 139 horsepower. Then they had a V6 and a V4 with 104 and 89 horsepower.
They had a V4 not inline?
They did. Well, I didn't specify. It's a 4-cylinder. It's probably an inline.
Okay. I was going to ask, though, with the Fox Body Mustang, was that something the public named it the fastback, or was that actually like from factory when you clicked the fastback option?
Well, I didn't look at the factory website to see if they had any information.
David, do you know?
Well, the hatchback nomenclature comes from the classic cars because there was the coupe and the fastback.
Yeah.
These days, most people call them hatchbacks. Just because the whole back is a door.
Hot hatch.
Yeah.
It's a classic hot hatch.
Yeah.
It's not as square as like a hot hatch, but...
No, it's not. It's a fastback. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Love them or hate them. Welcome to the show, David.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So let's jump right into your projects.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's start with this though. Your basic competition racing, autocross.
Mostly autocross.
Mostly autocross.
I would like to get into more track stuff. I've done some track days, but nothing. I've never even done a time attack, let alone like a wheel to wheel.
Yeah.
I've done some hill climb. That's fun. That's why I have a roll cage, because I did it once without one, and it was like, no, I'm not going to do that
terrifying.
again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely terrifying.
But it's almost all autocross.
Nice. When did you start doing that?
2016, I think.
So a few minutes.
Yeah, a couple minutes. Yeah,
Okay.
Been doing it a while. Same car the whole time, or have you gone through different iterations?
I bought a brand new 2015 Mustang in 2015, and I raced that twice, and then I bought a Fox Body.
Nice. You just decided you needed that dedicated race car, or what was the decision behind it?
At the time, it was like, well, I don't want to break this thing because it's expensive, and I had just gotten it. And at the time, I already owned a 93 Cobra, so I was familiar with the platform.
Okay.
I was looking at a few different things, and then my dad was like, you know how to work on the Fox Body, just go buy another one. So then I ended up just doing that.
Did you get a screaming deal on it?
To modern standards, absolutely.
Yeah.
To at the time,
Well, tell us what year yours is.
Oh, it's an 88 Mustang GT hatchback.
Blue.
It's
blue. That makes
blue.
It's blue.
It's two-tone, so it's silver on the bottom and it's blue on the top.
Yep.
It's an iconic car when in the autocross community. If you see it, you know it's David.
Yeah, for sure. That's the only one out there for us in the Northwest, right? That I've seen. Do you know of any other Fox bodies that are, I mean, not necessarily blue and silver like yours, but...
Ron Astad used to drive a Fox Body. He drives an SN95 now. And Chris Pokeny, I think is his name.
Oh, yeah.
Drives one, but he mostly sticks more south.
Okay, cool. When you bought it, it was a project when you bought it. You knew it was coming because it was going to be dedicated race car, right?
Oh, when I bought it, it was like a kind of pristine street car.
Oh, really?
And then I ruined it.
Oh, awesome. We love that.
Everyone tends to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I did the same thing.
Takes a real man to
Josh is doing the same thing with his race car.
Yeah.
Perfectly
My black
car.
Corvette was absolutely pristine. It was a show car. The guy I bought it from, it was a show car.
I'm the last guy holding on right now.
Whatever. I mean, yours was brand new.
Exactly.
Look at it now.
Yep.
Oh, so sad.
Oh.
Anyway, so we digress a little bit. So it was pristine. Did you dig into it right away? Did you just start ripping and tearing, or did you take it out and drive it first?
I did take it out and drive it first, but that was mostly a budgetary constraint because I was saving up for parts. I already knew I wanted to, at the least, do some chassis stiffening and suspension stuff.
Yeah.
And so I drove it. I even drove it on the awful, extremely old tires that came with a couple of times. And boy, was that not fun. I mean, it was really fun, but it
didn't go as you had planned.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I had it planned from the start to modify it, but I did race it a few times without it being modified.
Sure. So when you took it out and drove it just the way you bought it, basically, did that alter your plans for modifying and alter like what you would modify first, or?
It did not, but that's mostly because I do a lot of research about everything. So it was like, okay, I'm going to buy this car and, do all the research on autocross. It's like horsepower doesn't matter as much. Your chassis and your suspension matter significantly more. So it's like, okay, well, I want to do autocross. So what do I do in order of like the most gains on, right?
Yeah. What are your biggest bang for your buck?
Yeah.
And
it's like the things that's going to make the most difference.
Sure.
So it's like for those cars, they're kind of flexy in the chassis. So it's like everyone on the internet is like subframe connectors. Do that first. So it's like I did subframe connectors and wheels and tires, and that was the first thing that I did.
Okay.
And I mean, it's all really been downhill from there.
Downhill. Downhill. That doesn't sound good.
Well, I mean, that makes sense why you got the roll bar and stuff then.
So, let me ask this about the roll bar. Did the roll bar completely change how stiff that car was?
Yes. Oh yeah, like so the subframe connector makes it significantly stiffer, and then I did subframes and suspension and all that other stuff. But yeah, the big difference in like this thing doesn't have any body roll anymore was really the roll cage.
Okay.
All right, so that obviously that made a huge difference.
How soon once you got it did you start putting parts into it? Like you said, you raced a couple times on the street tires. Like, was it like as soon as the season over, you're into it, going in, modifying it, or what?
About a month.
Okay.
I took it out twice in about a month, and then I started getting into it.
Okay.
I love that.
How long was it down for before you, like, did you always make sure it was running by the end of the week, or so it was ready for the next race if possible, or was it down for a couple months and then you're ready like next season?
The whole idea was I didn't want to miss anything. Okay. So like at the time, so the subframe connectors are one of the only things you have to actually weld into a Fox body. And at the time I didn't weld, so I schedule it out with a welder, and it's like I'm going to take this here and I need it back by Friday or whatever. So I got it back pretty quickly because the whole idea was that I didn't want to miss any events.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. When did you start doing? I mean, boy, there's a lot of directions we could go here. You did the roll cage, but how far down the road was that?
How far down the road was that?
Did you,
probably 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, it was quite a ways then. So did you start doing suspension? You did subframe connectors, wheels and tires. That's a great start. You can start playing with the car. Suspension, brakes, motor mods. When did that stuff start happening?
I haven't done any motor mods yet.
Oh, that's awesome.
Done.
Nice. No, that's okay. No, that's freaking great, man. Yeah, cool. So suspension mods?
Suspension mods. All the suspension mods.
Yeah.
So it's actually one of the things that's kind of a pain in the ass. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
I changed completely the rear suspension. Stock is a triangulated 4-link, and now it's a 3-link Watts link with a I don't know, it's like a 3-foot torque arm.
Is the Watts link out of the police interceptors, or what kind of Watts link is it?
It's a Maximum Motorsports one. It's
okay. I think it's the same one I've got in Liger.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
So that's actually kind of a pain in the butt because it really limits the classes you can go in.
Oh,
so
really?
Currently, it's a CP car.
Oh, okay.
But it's like basically if I want to change classes, I can't in a lot of times because a lot of them say, oh, you have to use the stock pickup points. And I don't.
You can still run in cam, though.
Well, I was just going to ask, do you run cam?
No, because I don't have an interior.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not too hard for your car because I've asked about that one. It's loose. You can, because you still have a dash. You just need to put carpet into it and.
Carpet and interior panels, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all plastic. They're all really easy to put in. The bigger problem
is it because you don't have stock door panels?
Yeah, his door panels are aluminum or something, right?
They are aluminum. That's a good question. Technically, the cam rules say it has to be finished. It doesn't say it has to be.
Oh, those door panels are finished.
Yeah. Especially since with Cam Class it can be unlimited body modifications.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean that works too if your doors are changed out.
Yeah. My bigger problem with Cam is now the car's too light.
How light is it?
Currently, it's 2,900 pounds. It wouldn't be that hard because I think the Cam T limit is 3,000.
No, 29 for Cam T.
Is it?
Yeah, 3,300 pounds. Or actually, I might need to look at that because 3,300 pounds is for Cam C. What I'm in. Cam S is 2,900 pounds. Cam T, I'll need to actually check. I actually don't know. I thought it was 29 as well.
Well, if it is, I could run that.
I'm going to look it up real fast.
But I also did just buy a new mod that dropped 40 pounds off the nose.
Oh, really? What mod?
I still have an air compressor, an AC compressor.
Oh,
so
I just delete.
Yeah.
How about, does it still have, you have the compressor, does it still have the what is it? The radiator basically behind the dash.
Oh no, none of that.
Oh, that's gone.
I've got it. There's nothing under the desk except wire.
Oh, okay. So
I don't have a heater core. I don't have any of the pump, or not pumps, but any of the box or any of that stuff.
Yeah, all the fan blowers and all that stuff.
None of it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Nice.
Okay.
So does that make early morning runs hard? Not being able to defrost the window?
Makes them cold.
I also don't have windows on the sides, so no, it doesn't.
So I've got it for KMT. KMT is from 1948 to 2000. Minimum weight with driver is 3,100 pounds, 3,180
With driver.
with driver.
31.
Well, I could make that work. I'm a
Minimum?
big
There
dude.
you go.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum 3180. And you're at 29 something.
29.30, I think.
Throw a bucket of bolts in the back. Tie it down.
exactly.
Yeah.
Should put more gas in it than normal.
A little more
With
gas.
driver,
Yeah.
shit, I'm over that.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that would
200
be-
pounds,
Mhm.
easy peasy.
Yeah, you might be right there. Not
Yeah.
bad. So, with all the links and that kind of stuff, did you do coilovers?
Yes.
As well? Yeah.
Coilovers all around.
Yeah.
It's got a different subframe in the front. It's got tubular A-arms in the front. I've done some extensive cooling modifications because I keep having cooling problems to this day.
Still?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. I remember you and me really worked hard on that, like at ORP, trying to figure out what was it going to take to make the thing cool.
Oh, yeah. It hasn't overheated this year, but it's gotten hotter than I'd like it to.
Yeah.
What's that?
I also have to buy a gauge to give me a number.
Oh,
but
it's just
so I
hot.
have the stock gauge, and it's like almost in the red, and it's like, well, I don't love that.
Yeah.
There's no real number on it, but it's just hot.
Probably right
It's
around there.
warm.
Well, it says
200.
normal, and it's at like the N.
Yeah. Okay.
What kind of shocks? You said you put coilovers. What kind of shocks did you put in there, and how difficult was it to decide on what to put in there?
They're Maximum Motorsports shocks, so they're who do they work with? They're custom valved some other brand shocks.
Yeah.
And actually, it's really easy because they have a guide on their website that's like, this is what you're doing. This is about what you need, and then going from there. I do think I need to go a little stiffer. But that's another issue for another day because I've almost maxed the shocks out.
Oh, wow.
So if I go stiffer in the springs, I also have to go with different shocks. So
What
you
spring
can't.
rates?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
Spring rate.
my current spring rate is 375 pounds in the front and 250, I think, in the rear.
So what would you go for stiffness then?
They don't make stiffer ones.
Yeah, they do.
They do, but then the springs will outperform the shocks.
You think so?
Well, according to them, they made them, so.
Yeah, because I'm rocking on mine. I'm rocking 460 and 275, but I'm also a heavier car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, significantly heavier. I weigh 4,000 pounds with me in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder, would just revalving them be a good option? I mean, we're all on a budget, so is revalving a better option than buying brand new or
Yes, but
technology?
because I'm also trying this at this point to like min-max it, I have non-adjustable shocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, well, if I have to go stiffer, I might as well get the adjustable ones.
Sure.
Yeah.
And this,
I agree. I like adjustables. I did that on my Nissan, and it was fantastic once you get them.
Dialed
Once you
in.
find that spot, right?
Yeah, because otherwise you're pulling your hair trying to be like, isn't
It really
too
is.
stiff? Isn't it be too light?
But
What's the sports going to do?
The weird thing is, like, you do all that playing around with them, you get them adjusted finally, you find a happy spot, you're never going to touch it again. I mean, maybe you
Until
will.
you throw the next mod into it and you're like, well, how'd that mess?
Well,
Change this again.
That's a possibility, yeah. And unless you get really granular too, and you start adjusting per the course that you're on. You know, this one's higher speed. It's got sweepers, and now they're reacting differently.
Yeah.
But you can sure dig yourself a hole too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I like the adjustables just for that reason, that you can dial it in the way you drive the car, the way it feels, and that kind of stuff. But then I also feel like, yeah, but once you get them where you like them, are you going to touch them again?
that's the big fear.
Right.
It's like, am I going to spend all this money on adjustables and then just not do it?
Right.
Because that's why I got the non-adjustables in the first place. Because I was like, well, if I get the adjustables, I'm going to be like, well, that's good. And then I'm just never going to touch it again.
Yeah, possibly not. But then I guess it could also be said that with non-adjustables, you get what you get. What if you don't like it?
Yeah.
What do you do then? now you're playing with your sway bars and stuff, trying to get the car to balance and this and that. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Maybe now I got to spend a bunch of money on stiffer sway bars because I don't like the way the shocks are working.
True. Well,
when maybe you could adjust it out with, rebound clickers or something.
True.
Yeah. The other big thing to think about this, David, is your car is dedicated not just to autocross now, but you also said you're starting to do big track, like do hill climb, and do want to do time attack. With those adjustable, I mean, you got 4 different styles of driving. You're going to be adjusting for it. It's not going to be the same.
True.
Yeah, that is true. Let me know when you want to do some time attack, or if you're going to go out to a track day or something. I'll join you on that.
Okay.
I did time trial last year with SCCA and just fell in love with it.
Hopefully I'll be there too with Jeremy. Super secret project.
Even Liger would be fine.
Liger would be fine too.
Yes.
With the music going.
Whatever. I don't have to listen to it.
Be faster than me.
Oh.
Not necessarily.
No.
I still only make 200 horsepower.
I make barely 300.
Let's do a little power to weight ratio.
Yeah.
Because at 29 or 33,000, what'd you say, at 3,080?
3,180.
Okay. 3,180.
Yeah.
His is 4,000. Power to weight ratio, I bet you're real close.
Plus you've got larger tires than me, you've got Hoosiers than me, you got experience on me.
Do I have experience on you?
I think so. I think I started 2017 or 18. Something like that.
My first one was 2017.
Yeah.
Seat time does matter.
It does.
Yeah. Interesting. No, that's cool. Any other mods?
Oh God, tons.
Let's
hear
go
it. Down the list.
Let's talk about it. Let's hear it. Did you do gearing?
Yes, twice.
Okay.
So when I first got the car, the posi didn't work, and it was a 280 rear, solid rear axle.
Okay.
And then I bought all the running gear out of a 2003 Mach 1, so I get the bigger brakes and I get the 355s in the rear, and the posi worked, which was nice. The only issue with that, of course, is it's an inch and a half wider, which is why the car has flares on it.
Oh, that's why? I thought it was for the tires.
Well, it's for both.
Okay.
So when I got the axle and I put the tires on and they stick out an inch and a half, it's like, well, that sucks. So I'm going to get flares and bigger tires because now I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're almost forced to at that point.
Yeah.
You got to flare it anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then last year, so I'm finally starting to do mods that will take more power, because I do want to do engine updates, but I didn't want to do the thing where you beef up the engine and then you break the transmission and then you break the diff and then you break this and you break that. So
You build supporting mods first, then you build power.
Yeah.
That's the proper way to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to go to the track and break something and then be annoyed and then go home. So last year, I beefed up the diff. It's now got 373s. It's now got a True Track in it, and it's now got 31 spline axles. So it should take. I want to put a Coyote in it, a stock Coyote in it, which is like 460, I think, are the new ones, maybe 480.
It depends. So the new one makes, the brand new one makes 490 from the 6th gen Mustang.
Yeah.
The previous gen, which is the 3rd gen Coyote, that makes 460. The one before that makes 420, and the one before that makes 412. So if you're doing power mods, a lot of people say the best one's actually the 2nd gen one, because it doesn't have direct injection, and you can make a lot more power that way easier.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to get whatever I can find on Copart in a wrecked car.
Would you consider at all an F-150 5.0, or are you going strictly Mustang? I've been struggling with that in my head for a while, because the F-150 is significantly less. I mean, you're spending like $1,500, $1,200 for an engine, you're making like 360 to 380 horses, versus a Mustang, which makes significantly more power, and it's because of the compression ratios.
Well, if you want the cams, though,
if you want to change the cams out so you can make it more comparable, then you're spending another $1,000 anyway.
Yep.
So this is also a debate I have had with myself, is like, do I go cheap and get, I think the F-150's lowest horsepower is still like 375.
Yeah.
Or just get a Mustang one and go higher. It is definitely a debate I have had with myself as well.
Have you had the forbidden debate on dropping an LS in there. Every Mustang guy I know has debated that because it's so tempting.
It's very
that
tempting.
much power for that little cost, but it's going to the other side.
It's very tempting. The problem is classing.
Yeah.
If you put a not Ford engine in a Ford, you're going up to XP, and then the weight limit is like 2,300 pounds. So at that point, with a Fox body, you're kind of screwed. Because it's like, if you make the lightest Fox body in the world, you're probably going to be sitting still at 2,500 pounds. So it's like, if you actually want to be competitive, it's a bad idea.
You still have Cam Class, unlimited engine modifications.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got weight. You got weight you have to deal with, though.
Yeah, just put a supercharger, call good LS7. There you go. Perfect, David.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you want to keep it balanced too, right?
Yeah. No, I think you stick with the Ford motor in it. I think that's the way to go. It leaves you more options for classing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
LS swaps are cool, and they're everywhere, and there's plenty of parts to be able to do it, but it kind of hoses you for getting into different classes.
Yeah.
So,
But my opinion too on, you're talking about the F-150, it's a little cheaper, blah blah blah. Get what you want. Don't cut shortcuts.
Yeah.
Don't take shortcuts. Just get what you want. That's the important.
Do it right the first time, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Thankfully,
you really do what you want, because if you do that shortcut and you're like, it'll be good enough, and then you get it, and you're just like, I'm only halfway happy with it. That's not fun.
Yeah.
F that.
Yeah.
Get what you want.
David, as a Mustang guy myself, I have so many questions, but there's another engine question I got to ask you. Was the Godzilla motor ever come up thinking about dropping in your Mustang? The 7.3, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
The problem with that is also classing.
Would that still drop you off classing?
My class is CP, and in CP there is a weight limit based on displacement.
Okay.
And if you are more than, it's like a 5 liter with some headroom for if you have it rebuilt or whatever.
Okay.
So it's like 5,100 cc's or something. If you're more than that, you have to weigh another 300 something pounds.
Okay.
I don't want to do that.
Which, with that size of a motor, you'd probably have to put 300 pounds in the back of the car just to balance it out anyway.
Probably.
Yeah. More rubber.
Well, would you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably an aluminum block. Is
No.
it a big
It'll be
block?
so heavy.
No, the 7.3 I think is cast iron.
Is it cast?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of horsepower, but like changing some mods, some tunes into it.
Thing weigh like 600 pounds.
I don't know, but they make super nice horses. They make like 600 horses, naturally aspirated.
Well, the stock engine weighs 600 pounds, so that part doesn't bother me.
It does, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
That might be with all the accessories.
Well, the Coyote, what's the Coyote motor weigh? Because that's aluminum block,
That would be
right?
aluminum, yeah.
I think it's 400 or 450 pounds.
No, I think it's
a
more
bit
than
lighter.
that. I'm pretty sure.
That's more what I expected.
Yeah.
Like LS7's 405 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm Googling
It's not
it.
heavy. So
Coyote motor weight for third gen weighs 445 pounds.
Yeah, that's like 100.5 pound weight loss right there.
Yeah.
That's a decent little diet.
yeah, it is. Yeah. A diet with power.
Yeah.
A diet with
And then the Godzilla motor weighs 580 pounds.
So it's probably about the same.
I was right at 600, yeah.
Because, the stock Fox body has iron block, iron heads.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The one bonus about that one, though,
look that
is the
stock Fox body.
Okay.
I'm very curious
Yeah,
what that thing
hang on, I can't multitask with the words and things. Give me a moment.
was. Words and typing with thumbs can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to that 150 pound weight difference. I mean, that's a significant change. You'd be doing some corner work.
Yeah, you might have to do a little balancing for sure. Yeah.
So it says traditional Fox Body 5.0 weighs 411 pounds.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I thought it
that's
was
more
way more than that.
That's more what I figured.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it should
That
weigh.
should be like the Coyote should be direct swapped then for weight wise.
Yeah.
You know. I was saying
Which is good for your balancing.
Yeah.
And the weight of the car, because if you lose weight, now you're really struggling to make class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they actually pull scales out, how many?
They do.
How many? Where? Who pulls?
Carl's
scales
had it
out?
happen on them
Where?
at SCCA.
Oh,
Yeah.
At
He
like
said-
Pro Solo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He said
I can see Pro
he
Solo
was
doing it.
over by a little bit. He had to adjust the tire pressure so his rear tire would actually touch the scale. It's that stiff and that light. He's like, I was sweating bullets.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at National Tour, they
Yeah.
weigh you after
Yeah, I can
every,
see that. Yeah.
not every run, but after you're done.
Pre and post them before they do weigh you.
Did they do it before? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I haven't gone for like 2 years.
Anyways, I was trying to say, is the one bonus on the Godzilla motor is it's an overhead valve, not a overhead cams. So it's smaller engine. So that's been
physically smaller.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that most of the engines you've gone through, David, is the ones I've been debating on for me. Like every Mustang guy's like, okay, what can they do on the budget to make more power?
Yeah.
So I would say every Mustang guy that doesn't have a Coyote. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Godzilla is cool. It's also expensive.
That's true.
And you can't really get them in a junkyard yet.
Yet.
What did it come in?
It came in the F-250s from like 2018 plus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not an option that a lot of people bought with the Super Duties, but it was an option to have.
I see.
And then from factory, they were torquey engines, but not a lot of power. But Motor Trend and I think Road and Track both did articles on saying like how you can, with a tune and I'm not sure, probably cams, maybe cams, you put into it and it immediately changes that engine 500 horses plus 600 horses plus easy.
I mean, it's like a Fox body, right? Because it's like 200 horsepower, but it does make 300 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you want to get more horsepower, you just have to make it breathe better. It's probably very similar.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to figure out why you'd want to put that big of a motor in, because all you're doing is adding weight. I mean, if you were going straight line racing, maybe I would go with something like that.
I kind of agree with you. The extra weight's not really, it's going to hamper performance to a degree of your handling, right? So, I don't know. Being that it's a truck motor, what kind of RPM does it turn? Because
that I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's not really what truck motors are about.
Yeah,
they're about torque, pulling, duty,
It's probably got a low end torque cam. Or lower end torque.
So even if you did put one in, I think you'd end up doing work to it to make it breathe, to make it rotate. I mean, and they're probably really not built. The lower rotating assemblies are probably not built for high RPM.
It says the stock one goes 5,500 RPM.
Yeah, that's not very high.
Yeah, it's still not that high.
Really?
No.
Even my Fox body.
That's what my red line used to be before I changed it.
Well, it's because you drive a Mustang. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, God, how dare you.
Yeah, no, that's pretty low.
Yeah.
Really. For a, if you're looking for a motor that's performance based, that's not really a great option. And
that's true.
It's just my mechanical brain thinking about that, but I don't know.
I want to rev to 7,000 at least.
Isn't it better to have, and especially in Autocross, to have better low end torque than a high revvy engine?
Yeah, but he wants to do more than just Autocross.
True.
And
hill climb.
Are you going to shift at 3,000 everywhere? I don't think so.
True.
So you got to be able to rev that thing.
Yeah, I shift at 6,000 and the power falls off at like 5. So
now I feel really inadequate.
I shift at 6,800.
See, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Okay. I got more mods I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, our new motor, we just picked it up. Did I tell you guys this?
No, I had so many questions about that motor.
Oh, well, then we'll wait on that.
Okay.
So you haven't broken into the drivetrain at all. A new rear end, but no clutch, no
transmission.
Transmission's next. Yeah. I actually just this week got a bunch of the supporting parts. So I just got a bell housing and I got the yoke that I need and I got a new clutch and all this other stuff. So next is the actual transmission and then all that stuff can go in.
Are you keeping the stock transmission and beefing the internals, or are you changing it out completely?
No, changing it out completely. I'm going to go with a TKX because it'll take 500 foot-pounds of torque and it's roughly the same size as the T5 and the shifter's in the same place.
Is it TKX? Is that like a new version of the TKO? Or
yes.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
They came out with it at, I don't know, a couple of 3 years ago now, and it takes place of the TKO 600.
Do you think this Fox Body will be your forever car? Like your forever race car? Or do you see something that's next?
Probably. I've debated countless times selling it and buying a Corvette. Because it's like...
Rob, you're converting more people.
I know, I'm terrible.
Well, but it's like... I love my Fox
a great
body.
Platform.
I agree.
I love my Fox body. Mm-hmm. But the amount of stuff you have to do to it to make it competitive versus the amount of stuff you have to do to a Corvette to make it competitive is just completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's like you buy a Corvette, put some coilovers on it, I don't know, probably some other stuff, and you're good to go.
I mean, you don't even need to do that right away. You can wait a little while. But yeah, you just... little bit at a time. We talked about that last week.
I will say having a Mustang in the group, doesn't matter which autocross group or race group, there's typically Corvette will be faster, but a lot of people will be chasing that fast Mustang and put that as their goal to be faster than.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, because it's kind of good to
target.
It's good to be the benchmark.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, David, how many times
I
have you
enjoy
been
seeing
racing?
other stuff out there. I enjoy
Yeah.
seeing Mustangs. I enjoy seeing different cars.
Yeah.
You know, just like Corey and Laura's
Yes.
MR2s.
Oh,
Fun
those
as
are
shit.
fun.
Oh, yeah.
Fun as shit. And
Or Adam and his
fast.
Miata.
Holy
That just goes like
crap,
no one's
they're
business.
fast. Yeah. So I like seeing the other stuff out there.
Yeah.
But David, I think I don't think you'll ever get rid of the car. Even if you decide to get something else, another project, and start racing something else, you've put so much into that car. Why would you ever get rid of it?
There's a lot of sweat equity in it.
Absolutely.
I don't think I could.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think, yeah, once you've got so many plans for that thing too. And it's a cool car.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see it out on the big track and that kind of stuff.
I got one more question on the car.
Yeah, do it.
That I don't know if it's ever been asked. Does your car have a name?
Yes, the car's name is Monday.
It's Mundane?
Monday.
Monday? Why Monday?
Because it's blue.
Okay.
All right.
That's amazing. I'm so happy right now.
He couldn't name it Wednesday.
No,
Yeah,
It would have to be black.
that's true.
that's right.
What about Wednesday? Is it Black Day?
Like Wednesday Adams.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Mhm.
All right.
That said, I want to paint it orange.
What?
Then it'd be Friday.
I mean, because it's Garfield still?
Because it's a party.
Well, the 2015 Mustang
Okay.
is orange, and I absolutely love the color, but I'm trying to get rid of it because I don't need it anymore.
Okay.
And it's like, well, what if I painted the race car that color?
Would it be like a Gerber orange? I'm trying to remember, because I thought your orange was like a red.
It's competition orange, so it's a pretty bright orange.
Okay.
Nice.
That'll be different. That'll be very different.
I think it'd be fun.
I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to see it.
All right. So you said you picked up a clutch. I'm always interested in what clutch people are running. It's just a thing.
Oh boy, I would have to look it up.
Yeah, I
to be
don't
honest
even
with you.
know. All right.
Because this is also like an intermediary clutch, because obviously I bought the transmission to do a Coyote swap,
Yeah.
but this is a Windsor clutch, so it's just like, let's go find a clutch that is fine.
Just something. Yeah.
So
Okay.
then what
Something to
clutch
get you through
do you
the
plan on putting on then?
I don't know yet. Probably a twin disc something or other, but
Right.
I haven't looked that deeply into it yet. It's like when I'm
Yeah.
getting ready to buy
When there's
the
a
engine.
motor going in, then you'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd recommend the McLeod, as I said.
McLeod.
McLeod. Yeah, that's the one that I use. I like them a lot.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of good ones out there. I've had some bad experiences with a few of them that people are like, "Oh, I love those." You
Like
know,
the O'Reilly Special
never used one,
or a Napa Special.
but I'm not going to name it.
Okay.
Napa Special. Yeah, I just went there and
there's-
got a tractor clutch. and
There's
threw in there.
probably a couple of them that are really good with the Japanese cars, but aren't so good with
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
German or American.
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, or maybe you just get a bad clutch from
Yeah.
X manufacturer and it doesn't work out for whatever reason.
Friday clutch.
It could have been a Friday
Well, a
clutch.
clutch
Yeah.
job for you
Yeah.
would be way more difficult than, say, for a Mustang.
Oh, they're a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
I've done I don't know, 6-8 times.
Oh, wow.
It's a painful process. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got it down, but it's a painful process. Yeah, it's not easy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I wish it were.
It's one of the beauties of Fox Body.
Well,
There's
that's
so
a
much
beau-
aftermarket
yeah.
support.
Well-
and also taking the damn thing apart is so easy.
Yeah.
4 bolts, take the drive shaft out. 4 bolts, transmissions out.
Yeah. I mean, that it definitely is a drawback for Corvettes, in my opinion. That whole process of getting your clutch out, because you have to drop the whole rear end, torque tube
Yeah.
all the way back.
Yeah.
Before you can even get to it. I mean, they're built well as far as working on them. It's not hard. There's, a handful of bolts to get your suspension off and, drop that cradle and pull it out.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time people use books for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody read the show notes.
I did read the show notes.
I had
For you.
a segue question too, but it's
Okay.
a different direction. I was going to ask about the Fox Body platform. So, how feasible is that for somebody to go out and buy now to build?
How much money you got?
Because they're going up, right?
They're going up. Oh, yeah.
You can get a decent one that isn't maybe in 100% like really good shape for like $9,000.
Yeah, you and me were talking about this literally yesterday, Jeremy. I think. Yeah.
I mean, I think these people are out of their gourds, but I keep seeing. I paid $5,000 for mine, and I keep seeing people trying to sell like rolling chassis for $5,000, and it's like, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, now you got another $5,000 to spend to get a transmission and a running motor and all that stuff in there.
Easily $5,000.
Yeah, and then that's not including any of the brakes or the suspension upgrades.
Those might be parts you find at the junkyard. Yeah. Honestly.
How many different types of Mustangs have you driven before, David? And then how do those compare to the Fox Body?
Oh boy. Let's see. I've got a 65. I've got the race car, which is an 88. I've got the Cobra, which is a 93. My mom used to have an SN95, which was a 97.
Okay, so early gen.
I've driven Liger. I've driven an S550 EcoBoost. That's the orange car. I've driven a GT350 just once, but that was fun.
Nice.
That was a 2018, I think. David Cosa's car.
Okay.
Definitely the Fox Body drives more like the older cars than the newer cars. The newer cars tend to drive much more like a modern sports car.
Okay.
Whereas I do feel like it's a solid rear axle. You have to drive it like it's a solid rear axle. It doesn't drive that dissimilar to Liger.
Okay.
You can tell Liger's heavier when you drive it.
Yeah.
But it's not dissimilar.
Is it like driving... Because yours is so bolted down and stuff. When you're driving a Fox Body, like you were saying, like classic car and stuff like that, can you feel like the back starting to shift and know like it's more predictable what's going to do?
I mean, I think so.
Okay.
But I drive it all the time.
True on that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. You're just used to it.
Yeah.
You know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
So
just by the way it feels.
So with that many cars being driven, can you see why people are wanting to pay more for the Fox Body, or do you still think it's like, no, this doesn't make sense?
Oh no, the GT350 drives better in every single way than my Fox Body does.
Yeah, but it drives. You said more like classic. Like, does it drive more like your 67?
Oh no, but that probably has more to do with the steering box.
Okay.
So the steering box has probably 4 inches of play in it.
Okay.
So, it's an adventure just driving it down the road. I would not want to race that car.
Okay.
Not without modernizing it.
A 67 and a 65?
No, it's a 65.
65, sorry.
All right. So
that one's for sale too.
Okay. Oh, really? We'll talk later.
Yeah.
I need another project.
Oh, you have one sitting in the wings. You don't need another
I've got
project.
multiple, but yes.
65, is it complete, running, restored, not
Absolutely
restored?
Not. I bought the 65 when I was in college, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have plenty of money and time to completely restore this thing by myself in my mom's garage.
Yeah.
And that's what college says.
Yeah.
And so I stripped it to bare metal and took everything out of it, and it's been like that ever since.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. So anybody listening need a 65 Mustang?
Yeah, it is a rolling chassis because I sold the transmission and I sold the engine.
Oh my goodness, it is a project car.
It's definitely a project car. I do have a really sweet rear suspension for it though.
Nice.
There's a lot of those out there. I come across them all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of them just rollers. Very few actual runners.
Yeah.
The runners are $15,000 and they're trashed.
Actually, that's the question. Because why do most people with the 60s Mustangs, like you were saying, a lot of them are just rollers. Why do people keep giving up on those Mustangs?
Well,
there's people.
They're just rollers because they took the motor out and put it in something else. They took the transmission and gave it to their buddy. The thing sat in mom's garage for the last 10 years. Right?
Yeah, I think perhaps a lot of people are too ambitious. And
I think so.
My Cobra, which now runs, did sit for almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Because at the time, I had never done any engine work, and it was like, okay, this thing needs head gaskets. So I'm going to pull the engine out. I'm going to change all the gaskets on it, have it be fresh, rebuild it if it needed it, which thankfully it didn't. But in the first 6 months, I did most of the work, and then it just got intimidating, and it was like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right. And so it just went on the back burner.
Okay.
I bet you so many people do that.
Oh, I bet you're
Where it's
right.
like they dig into it, and then they're like, I don't know what to do now. Let's just get rid of it.
Yeah. I would admit that's happened to me a few times. It's typically like, because David, I've got a lot of projects, if you know that, and I'll get like headstrong going to them, focused 5 months, 3 months, like every day, 12 hours working. Get to a point where I don't know what needs to go, and it's just kind of like that locomotion just hits a brick wall.
Yep. Just stops.
But a good break is always good, because like you come back to it fresh and like, oh, I didn't think about it this way.
Clear eyes. Yeah.
And then you start going back at it.
Yeah. That can happen. And not everybody is as determined as you, though. You know, those projects that get put on the back burner, they start piling shit up on top of the car in the garage. Pretty soon you can't even see the car. There's so much shit on it. And now it's overwhelming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you're like, you know, even if they have that inkling of, I kind of want to go work on the car, they go out in the garage and look at it, and they can't even get to it. It's a 3-day project to unbury it.
Yeah, and
so it sits longer.
That's so disheartening when that happens. Like,
I see tons of those cars. You know, you drive through neighborhoods and garage doors are open, and there's some car buried. You can't even tell what it is. It's buried under so much shit.
I would say currently, I bet you that, because I've got the Lambos, the current one, I got to finish.
Yeah.
That I would say is probably the biggest reason I haven't touched the Fiat, which is also good because it means I'm focusing on another project, is because I know all the parts are in drawers. I've got it all organized. I've got, the parts. Fiat's got all the stuff into it, and it just kind of, if I want to get onto it, it's a whole new endeavor, and all my focus is going to be on that.
Yeah. So let's jump back to the Cobra.
Yeah.
When you were doing the motor, did you have a manual?
Ooh.
I had Haynes, if that counts.
It does.
It does.
And I also bought, I think, 2 books on how to rebuild the Ford Windsor engine.
Nice.
How'd that do for you? Like, did it?
I mean, when I finally got it back together, it worked. So pretty good.
Must have worked. How about you, Grant? You actually collect manuals.
Yeah, I collect manuals.
Yeah.
Just because I really think they're a good tool to have.
Yep.
Not a lot of people, everything's starting out digital, which is great if you're looking up something.
Drives me insane.
Well, it's...
Unless you can search and get
you
exactly what you want.
If you had something like All Data, which was nice, if you had that, like in the shop, and we're able to look it up and type in, and then, say, looking for clutch mass cylinder, and it shows you all that, shows you, do you want removal, do you want bleed, do you want that? That's nice.
Yep.
But not everyone has that.
Right.
And for me, the other big thing is having a book physically in your hands, flipping to a page, putting your wrench down to separate it so you can see what's going between.
Yeah.
Having your buddy, here's the book, read this off to me while I'm doing said projects.
Right.
Is good. I have a rule in my shop, which is if I'm working on anyone's car, I don't know what to charge for prices a lot of time, but the minimum I have is you must bring me a repair manual.
Yep.
It helps me with not only my library, but it means next time your car comes in for whatever reason, I have way more knowledge to work on it than there would be without it.
Right.
And we wouldn't spend all the time searching, Googling how to replace certain sensor and what its specs are going to be and where's it at and blah blah blah.
We started running into an issue with that though.
Yeah, that we did.
So
with getting a manual.
Yeah, most part stores they have a small section of manuals, but a lot of times they don't have the manual you're actually looking for.
Yeah.
So I think the last couple of cars we worked on over there that were mine, I had to order the manuals.
Yeah.
And they didn't show up until after we were done working on the car.
Yeah, you got to plan ahead for that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Talking to some of our Napa guys, the main reason is because Shelton, I believe, or was it Haynes? Which one?
Well, both of them,
Yeah,
Shelton and Haynes.
They're now going digital.
Yeah.
So now you can buy a subscription based and have access to all of it. I still haven't done that yet, but I still don't think it's as good as having an actual physical book.
I don't like the subscription-based stuff.
Yeah.
I don't either.
It's irritating, but whatever. It's
the only thing nice about a subscription base would be
paying monthly.
Well, I think you can do a yearly subscription, but you get all of the next year model when they come out, right? And I don't remember what it was.
Working on every year. How about I just want a 2007 Z06.
You might
I just
might
want
be able,
that, and I got to pay a subscription.
Well, you might be able to buy a single digital copy of that manual.
Yeah, maybe.
But I know, like Grant and I were talking about, the one that we were looking at was like $900 or $99.
Yeah.
But you got everything.
Yeah.
And then I think for, was it $10 a year or
I don't know.
I don't know. It was like, it wasn't the whole $99 again.
Yeah.
But for, another
just to upkeep your subscription.
$15 or $30 a year,
no, that's not too bad though.
But if you're a typical, like, say, just not a super car guy like with us, but you're someone like at home that wants to do a repair and not pay a mechanic $1,000 or $1,000.
Right.
Like, I could do this. Give me a book. Let me try and have it be your first project.
Right.
Having a book they spend $20-$30 on, that's not a heck of an investment, and
even $100.
It gets you your simple stuff done.
Yeah.
But now the intimidation of, okay, I got to download the app. I got to figure out which car I'm going through, instead of just going to the store and someone handing you a book of, this is all I need. Here's the parts you need. You can get this done, sir. Any questions, come back to O'Reilly's, come back to Napa, come back to AutoZone. We'll tell you, it'll help you exactly whatever you need, sir. We'll upsell you and make sure you get right exactly what you need to the job done.
Have you gotten good advice from a parts store?
That's I was laughing at that too. So I'm going to talk to that 16-year-old kid behind the counter. He's going to tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
But the old gray-haired guy behind the counter
some
might
of them
know some
of them are not so much, but it depends. I'm not going to go into that.
I got an old parts store in Longview, Washington that I used to go to that every guy behind the counter actually works on shit. And I've gone in there probably 1,000 times and got really good advice from those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of hit and miss. I mean, I do have the big manual set up for the Corvettes. I did not buy it. Jamie brought that.
Yeah.
But I am, and always have been, tear it apart, see how it goes, comes apart, put it back together the same way.
Yeah.
I'll look up the specs that I need, torque specs and that kind of stuff.
That's the big one for me. Is torque specs,
got to have
sequences.
That. Absolutely have to have that. But yeah. I mean, manuals sometimes get almost too involved. Like
factory manuals? You mean like too involved, or what do you mean?
Too involved in
Because I get too generic.
Process. The manuals I'm thinking of specifically.
Okay.
They just get bogged down in a lot of
little wordy.
Yeah, they're a little wordy. A lot of anyway. But
when it gets to that point, that's when you fire up YouTube.
Maybe so. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good information there. You got to be careful with it, but
that's true.
There's a lot of bad information.
A lot of bad information too. But I've watched some of those videos. Like I was changing a axle seal in my F350. And it's like, okay, there's something in here that I can't see. Didn't have a manual, couldn't download one, whatever. Watch a YouTube video, get you the basic idea. Somebody actually pulls it apart, and you're like, oh, okay.
Was it the special socket?
The special socket tool, the whole thing, right? Yeah. But it gets you there. It's like, you figure out, oh, there's something else I need.
Yeah.
And if you're mechanical at all, you can get the job done. You can get it figured out.
So then what's your guys' thoughts on going the next step, going to factory manuals? So like those I've been really wanting to get invested in, even cars I don't even own. Like I really want to get, start getting Viper manuals just to have them, just to learn them. I really want to get, factory Mustang manuals from Ford. Just have the more intricate detail. It's a lot more shelf space you have.
I guess that's what I'm talking about. The Corvette manuals that I have are the factory manuals, and they're very detailed, very detailed, like everything, right? So, and sometimes that's too much. Yeah. It's like, okay, I just need this. Yeah. Can't find it because there's 3 volumes of 10,000 pages each, and it's like, oh my God.
The one thing I will say about those, the factories that are nice to have though, that some of the basic manuals offer, and sometimes online you could kind of hit this, is the wiring diagrams. Yeah. Finding a very detailed wiring diagram telling you exactly where components are, what they do, is a lifesaver.
Yeah, wiring is super frustrating.
Yeah.
Anytime you're digging into that, it's a nightmare. And even a manual, you start going through that and it's like, well, yeah, but this one isn't the same as what this manual's saying it should be.
Exactly. Someone aftermarket put down the red wire when it should be blue.
Maybe. Or maybe it came out of the factory different, right?
Yeah.
And because those things happen.
Yep.
And that's super frustrating. Mm-hmm. Especially because all those wire bundles, you can't tell what's going into here and there and the other thing. And
I remember when I was putting a trunk button into Liger, it was a yellow wire with, orange wire with white striping on it that I was supposed to be looking for in this cord trying to hook into. And hooking into kept blowing a fuse from my rear defroster, I believe. And I was like, this is not working. This is what's going on. Come to find out through the forums and through, the installation PDF I was given, that the later gen Mustangs from 06, 05 versus 07 plus had a purple wire you were supposed to go. And that gets frustrating because
where do you find that information?
Exactly.
Right? That's what I mean. It's just terrible. But that's all car stuff. And the newer car you work on, the harder that gets.
Yeah.
Because more electronics, more wiring, more CAN bus, more bleh. Yeah. So that's frustrating for sure.
With all your projects, David, has it been more helpful or less helpful to have, just a manual that's been needed that covers what you need, or is there times you wish you had more detailed, or what has been your experience?
I don't actually like manuals that much.
Okay. I
always read
pull
them.
it apart and see what you got.
Yeah. It's like I'll read it and I'll be like, that kind of makes sense. And then I'll either just go ahead and pull it apart, depending on what it is, or I'll look up. My policy is 3 YouTube videos. Because it's like, if you look at 3 videos and they all do it the same way, it's probably the right way to do it.
Yep.
How much you want to bet one of those are your YouTube videos, though?
Mine? Oh, God, I hope nobody's doing that. But yeah, like I'm definitely a visual learner, so pulling things apart and putting them back together is the easiest way for me. It's just, when you're doing like a complex system like an engine or a diff or something like that, it's like, it's nice to at least have some text that you can reference if you're like, well, where the heck does this go?
Yeah. I'm the same way. I can just pull it apart, or I've always been really mechanical, so I can look at it, figure it out, how it's supposed to work, how it comes apart, how it goes together, just by looking at it before I even dig into it. And then I can just go from there. It's a learning process, especially the first time you've done it. By the next time, if you got to do it again, you're like, oh, I got this. Yeah, no problem. But I agree with the more complex gears and that kind of thing, when you're digging into a motor, or a motor is a good example. It's nice to have, because there's a lot of reference marks and things, they have to go back together just a certain way. It's nice to have a little bit of background information on that stuff.
Yeah, so I think there's some things that I like to have the manual open for, and then there's other things I don't, right? Like, I had to replace the fill neck on my 1964 Ford pickup one time, and it's literally a hose clamp that holds it in place. So I'm like, I'm not going to open a manual for that. But, I have also opened the manual for doing some of the timing work and stuff like that, and looked through it, and, you get it apart and you're looking at the front of the motor and you're looking at the pictures and you're like, that's not the same.
Yep. That's frustrating for sure. So along those lines then, if you've got a new task to do, something you got to dig deep into your car, and I'm looking at you, Grant, because you do it all the time. New project, how do you go about it? Do you study it first? Do you start digging in until you run into a roadblock and then you look it up, or how do you learn a new task?
Something I've never touched before or done. Typically I'll first do a visual overchange and just see okay, is this something I can access, how to go through this. I may grab one of my manuals to look at first. It's either between that or a YouTube video. And if it's around something I've done, I'll fast forward because I've done, say if it's, let's just say it's removing a alternator. Well, I've taken the power steering apart, and so I don't need to know how to remove that to get to the alternator. So I'll just get through that. And so typically then I'll jump into a project, get to a point where I don't know. Once it gets to unknown territory, I'll hold off and do some research beforehand. Because there's been parts where I've jumped into stuff blind and it's gotten me into some trouble. Taking things apart. Like, for example, my ABS module, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. This and this and this all work, and take one thing apart. Didn't realize I had 2 double bushings, or not bushings, but ball bearings on the back end, which kept the cylinder out and can't be shoved back in without vacuuming back those first. That's a whole nother project I'm working on, but eventually maybe I had to buy another one and had to put it in. So there are times though, like if I could see and mechanically it looks very simple, like say if it's a few bolts and nuts, I'll jump in. If it's not an actual system that I'm taking apart and it's something visually I can just kind of see on the outside, I'm like, okay, this comes out, this comes out, this comes out. And I will put bolts back in where I took them out typically. Sure. That way when I'm ready to put the ballast back together, it's all there. It's all there and it's defined. Yeah. If not, everything goes into Ziploc bags and marked very clearly. Yeah.
Yep. I think honestly a lot of project car guys are similar to that. You're going to dive in, just start working on it until you hit that roadblock and you're like, now I need an explanation. What am I missing? Why isn't this coming apart? Or what's the best way to put this back together? I got it apart. Now I can't get it put back together. So yeah, I think that's when you start searching either for a manual or for a YouTube video. Back in the day before there was YouTube, we just struggled through it, right? But hopefully maybe you had manuals. Maybe you had a buddy that had already done it once.
Exactly. That's key. Yeah. Someone who's done it before.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's been a lifestyle. They'll tell you, like, the tricks and hits and be like, this is what you do. Or the real good friends will keep it quiet and say, you know what, I'll let you do this on yourself and figure it out.
Oh, that's a good friend for sure, yeah. You're going to struggle through it.
Honestly, it is somebody that has done it and is not willing to do it for you, but they're willing to come and work with you and let you do the work, but stop you when you're about to do something stupid. Those are the best friends.
I try to do that with all my friends. Yeah. I've got a friend of mine who works on his Mustang, and it was like, I've watched multiple, like with lastly, he was working on replacing a rack and pinion on his Mustang. And he's like, oh yeah, it should take me, 2 hours. These ball joints showed on the YouTube video, like maybe, 30 seconds, they'll be done. After about half an hour, I decided to say, here, I'm going to show you the trick how to take these off, because I was like, you're going to spend all night just getting through. And he was getting frustrated. He's like, I have this time allotted. I'm like, no, if it says this much time, double that time, add an hour. Then you're at your true time, how much it takes.
God, probably more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, some tasks, right? Mm-hmm. Like we did the wheel bearings on my daughter's car out at his shop.
God, I love those wheel bearings. How many times? 2, 3?
We were at the Napa 3 times getting parts, because the first time I went, like they gave me all the parts we needed and all this stuff. Well, I only got one side, and Grant and I got there and we're like, well, let's look at the other side. And, you shake it.
They both are bad.
They were both bad. So, shit, we're going back to the store. And on one side, they had the whole hub assembly already put together. On the other side, they didn't have it. So we had to get the spline and the bearings and push that side together. Well, the one that was fully assembled wasn't correct.
It wasn't the right size.
It wasn't the right spline.
They had 2 different styles for the same car, the same year.
Same year, yeah. So we had to go back and redo it. Yeah.
With the same engine, too. That was also more frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Was it like a half-year model? Did they do one of those?
No, I don't know. It just, I guess one version had one style of hub and the other one had the other style of hub.
Yeah, one was like a 30 spline and the other one was like a 27 spline.
You're just supposed to know that going in.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it was a 28 versus 27. Or
it was a manual, Jeremy, the book that you never got for us.
Well, that's one of the books that we were having issues with, right?
It was. I guarantee that probably would have said, hey, this is what's going on.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. Make sure you count them before you buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Get all of your opinions on this.
Okay.
We all have the friends that are not into cars, but they have this really thin interest. How do you introduce them to the car world?
So they're first into Pokemon, right? And then you transform.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, no.
All right. What do you think, David?
The only convert I have ever done is my wife. And I wouldn't even say she's a car person. I would say that there are cars that she likes. Mm-hmm. And all I really had to do was buy one for her. Like, she would never have bought it. But I was like, here, we're going to buy this for you. And then she's like, I love this thing.
Okay. Yeah. So, but she's still, even now, a surface car person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever had that friend is like stands on the outside of wanting to kind of know what car world is about, but doesn't know how to get in, doesn't know what to do?
Not really.
Not really?
No. I've tried with a few people and failed miserably.
Oh, that counts.
And
here's what not to do.
Here's what not to do. Don't put them in your car and take them for a joyride and scare the crap out of them.
That's the best.
Well, that's I love that.
But it's got to be fun for them. If you scare them, they're like, stay away from me.
Yeah, that's true.
Hard pass.
I think, right. I've had those friends. I'm not great at it either. I've had a few people come out and, come back a couple of times, but eventually they've just got other stuff to do, so they weren't that interested to begin with, I guess.
Yeah.
But, it's, for me, getting them to actually come out the first time is probably the hardest, because they're just like either too busy or not that interested to begin with, or I don't know. It's too much of a hassle for them. It's like,
or their conception.
Do I really want to do it? Their perception of it is different.
Is not exactly what it is. You try to explain something to somebody and they're like,
no, verbally it does not come across well.
Yeah, no.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like there's 3 or 4 different types of ways that people get introduced to the car world. You have the people who either introduce them through racing and they're involved with the speed and how the car feels. Back road driving or enjoying it on the road because they're like, wow, this actually makes sense. My daily car, I didn't know it could do this. You have the technical people who like throwing a wrench or something and be like, wow, I actually get to grab a wrench and turn. Look at me, I'm a grease monkey. Oh boy. And the fourth one is understanding the art and the beauty, going through like museums and actually saying, wow, this is something I never even considered that way.
So I think there's another one. There's culture too, right?
Yeah.
Because there's tons of different cultures for the car community, right? You got the racing community, you've got the lowrider community, you've got the old car communities, you got the exotics, the cars and coffee guys. So
I think it has to be in the person to begin with, though. Like, you're not going to take a non-car person and introduce them to whatever area of cars you're into, whether it's show cars or racing or whatever, unless something in them is predisposed to liking that. Maybe they've never been exposed to it, and then all of a sudden they are, and they're like all in. They're like, this is awesome, best thing I've ever done. If they don't have that gene, for lack of a better whatever, it's not going to work.
That desire.
Car curious.
Car curious.
But I was going to say, it's, for me, it comes down to, first off, the person who kind of just, whoever introduces their friend into the community, it's more of, how do you do it? Do you, is it your personality that shines and be like, guys, you got to check this out, and show them how much you're excited for it, and does that get them excited for it? Does it say, they're piquing their interest into it and like, okay, what's it going to take to convince them to jump into this community? And I was going to say is, for me, I'm probably a good example. I never grew up as a car guy. My dad had some cars, and I really actually resented them because how much he spent time with them, until, my chores were washing the cars and spending time with cars. And as a word, getting to see what they would do, he'd take me out and we'd drive with them. And just being around and introducing to the excitement, I'm like, oh, that's what this does. This is not just, the thing we go to McDonald's for. This is not the thing that we go to the baseball games for. This is actually something that feels like a Disneyland ride. This is something that, wow, looks like nothing else on the road. This is a really cool car. Getting able to wrench on them, a whole different story, because it's time you get to spend with the person you actually enjoy with, and seeing, I built this is what became of that. In my opinion, that's a really good revenues of how to get people into it.
Yeah, but don't you think the reason that you enjoyed it, even though you hadn't been exposed to it until then, like there was something in you that just needed to be exposed to it, and so that you could realize what it was. You're a mechanical person, though, right? So I think that makes a big difference. If you weren't into mechanical,
Mm-hmm.
cars, motorcycles, whatever, it wouldn't have had that same effect. No matter how much you were around them and that kind of stuff, maybe you would learn to appreciate cars and performance and that kind of stuff, but it wouldn't have the same effect.
I think probably the best thing I've got that story to tell about that of someone who's transformed that isn't at all mechanically inclined or nothing.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And his story, for example, when I met him, he was a guy who would take the bus, public transport. That's all he would do.
All right.
He would swear by it. Anyone who drove, he was like, I don't understand why you guys waste time. Until the one day we convinced him to get a car because the requirement of his job required him to drive. He finally realized this is a lot more freeing. This is a lot more. I can go anywhere I want and start driving everywhere he could.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even think about wrenching. Didn't think about working on it. Then we get an inkling onto him of racing. I'm like, okay, let's see what we can do performance-wise. I'd take him in my car, and he'd try to keep up at times and say, do at your pace, don't keep up. And we'd be doing on backcountry roads at night at a safe speed and stuff, enjoyable speed, weekend warrior.
Yeah.
And then to the track, be like, okay, we're getting to the point now where you're getting above that. Let's go somewhere we can put it in a safe environment. We go to the track, start doing that. And then from a guy who went from, never wanting to touch a car, we get him to not only racing, but then to the point where he's like, I don't want to keep bringing this to the dealership to pay him. How do we do this? I'm like, I'll show you. Just come to my shop. We'll start wrenching. You'll be my apprentice. We're gonna start simple, like tools. Hand me that. I'm gonna have you start wrenching and doing stuff. And literally, watching the transformation over the years went from someone that you would never expect to be a car guy, to one of the most diehard you would know. In fact, like his job now revolves around cars now too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, and I get what you're saying, but do you think that deep down inside him somewhere, he just didn't know it, there was a car guy?
Maybe. I mean, and the only reason I could say that is from, getting known from the years, like his dad has a Cobalt that his dad absolutely loves. And he talks about that, like growing up, that's the car he would talk about.
Yeah.
But he's never mentioned it, never seen it before. Before I knew him, before working on cars, he'd never bring it up or talk about that.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be it. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know really where it comes from, because there are people that are, and there are people that aren't.
Yeah.
And you Antonio. You met him, and he was definitely not at the time, but by introducing it to him a little bit at a time, figured out that, hey, I actually like this. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting, the psychology of it. Like, where do they come from? Why do we like this? Where does this passion for cars come from?
What was your car heroin?
Your car heroin?
What was your car heroin? What got you hooked on them?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess people come from a lot of different places. Like, I've been into it since I was before I could walk.
Yeah.
Right. That was my always into cars, bikes, that kind of stuff, mechanical. There's people like me, but then there's also the Antonios that don't get into it until way later in life, and then they realize, what have I been missing? It's pretty amazing. It's
true.
Yeah.
My dad always had some motored project.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say wheeled project.
Yeah.
Some motored project in the garage.
Some kind of mechanical something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us that are into project cars now had that as a background. Like, we grew up around it some way, somehow. There was always some kind of building going on, or tinkering with this or that, or some kind of process. Even like I did a lot of pseudo farm work, right? Just working in the shop, or I'd work with I had uncles that had farms, and I'd work with them sometimes, and just always being around building stuff.
Yeah.
Machines. I always liked machines. So I don't know. People are just either around it or they're not. If being who I am, if I grew up in a city, I have no idea if I would still have the passion for cars and machines that I do now.
That's true. Yeah, because like imagine someone downtown New York.
Right.
How many people do you think would have the opportunity to rent
So
out, especially with shop not being introduced in high school anymore,
Right.
or even in colleges going to there like for automotive elective or a tradesman
Right.
elective.
Yeah.
Switching gears on the same subject,
Do it.
David, what got you into like wrenching and getting these deep into projects, as well as what got you into like autocross racing, especially if you only, I would still say it's recent, 2016, less than 10 years for racing?
So, racing has always been part of my life.
Okay.
My parents were big Formula One fans. They watched NASCAR when I was a kid. Drag racing, any kind of racing was always on the television all the time. We weren't really big into wrenching. We would do basic maintenance on the cars, and I would, be the little kid holding the flashlight.
Over here. Can't you point it over here?
Yeah, exactly.
Stop moving.
But I didn't really get into like doing a project until I bought the 65. And that was mostly just because it was like, well, this is a cool car and it's really not that expensive. Why don't we go buy it? I had the money at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So getting into doing the projects mostly comes from not wanting to give people money to do something that I think I can do myself.
Yeah.
I find that is a thing in a lot of things in my life. Like I'm getting ready to redo my bathroom. So it's like, it definitely started as like a necessity and a not wanting to pay someone to do it. And now I do it for fun. So I guess it's gone full circle.
Nice.
I think a lot of project-related people are that way. They do it out of necessity, or, I agree with you. I'm not going to pay somebody else to do that. I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it just as well. I can put out just the same quality as XYZ, whatever, and it'll cost me half the price.
Yeah.
I can put a lot more into the parts that I'm using because I'm not paying somebody to do it.
Yeah. I just told my nephew yesterday, is like, if you start changing your own oil, you're not going to save any money, but you're going to use nicer oil, which will make your car last longer.
It's true.
Yeah. Don't go to the drive-through oil change place that only puts 4 out of 5 quarts in your car.
Yep.
Yeah, because they don't actually run it for the 10 minutes, shut it off, and check it again.
No, they do it on purpose.
Yep.
The scam is, if they only put 4 out of 5, they're saving a quart. They're saving 5 quarts every 5 cars. That's a whole nother oil change for free.
That's insane.
They do it on purpose. Yeah. Anyway. Did you have something else, Grant?
Maybe, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
All right. I'm sure it'll come to you.
Probably.
What project car should you stay away from? What car is out there that you should just walk away? Don't pick it up. Don't do it.
Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me?
It's called a Lamborghini Countach.
Well, that's actually a good point, right?
Yeah.
It might not be a Lamborghini. It might not be a Ferrari, something like that. It's, to me, the one you can't get parts for.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
yeah.
If the parts aren't readily available or they're super expensive, stuff like that, is it worth having?
Is it worth having? Are you into it for that long haul search? Some people are.
Yeah.
Some people are all about that super rare car that's really, maybe they've got to machine their own parts and make their own this and that.
That's exactly me in the Fiat. Because when I bought the Fiat originally, it was between that and a 914. And both where I was looking for a mid-engine car or something that I can, originally modify. And I wanted to have something like makes diesel power, something not like Dad's Ferraris, but trying to shift that way.
Sure.
It's like speed and mid-engine.
Yeah.
But the one problem is that running into, say, focusing on the Fiat, that parts are definitely harder to find for a Fiat than it is a Porsche. On top of that, finding the hard way, being a 74 Fiat, where it was the only year of that one and 90% of the parts are only for that one, it's like finding a split window Corvette.
Yep.
They may look very similar to every other Fiat that was there, but like all those parts I either had to remake myself or had to find really rare or pass downs. as a mechanic, it gave me so many skills working in that car and learning all new styles and tricks and whatever. It was definitely not something to jump into, and that's why it's also my long-term project going into that one.
Yeah.
But switching gears, something like the Lambo, that was something after being so many years in the trade and working on the cars. I'm like, okay, this is a project. It looked unassuming because the body, everything looked like it was there.
Yeah.
And, after buying it and getting into it, I'm like, okay, I have a timeline, 3 months, it'll be done, everything's there. And I'm like, because, I know what the running gear is going to take. I know what it's, if it was running beforehand and did get it running as well, I was like, it's not going to be much harder to get it driving and the body's almost done. Until really getting the nitty gritty, finding out like, okay, I need to extend the frame. Every bushing need to be replaced because they're rotted. The biggest thing came to the body, which looked like it was done.
And then realizing that it's falling apart and crumbling and can't withstand any kind of forces. And
because that was also something like, if the previous owner was alive, because I bought it from his widow.
Right.
Maybe that's something I could talk to. He could have told me every single, here's the plus, here's the minus, this is what you need to do, here's my intentions, this is where the project is going. But going into it blind is a whole nother gamble. And that's that's something I'm going to expect with my next project is whatever I assume is going to be there, even if it looks complete, expect it to be longer.
Right.
I got a suggestion.
Yeah.
Kick the tires before you buy it.
I bought it sight unseen.
I know.
Yeah.
You need to kick the tires.
It was a good deal, you got to say.
Yeah.
But
was it
$300?
$300
and I learned a lot from that car too.
For all that he got out of it, absolutely.
Yeah. And I haven't put much into it.
Yeah.
I think hours wise from my time, I put a lot of hours to it. Money wise, I think I'm only like, a grand and a half into it.
Yeah.
But I've learned the value I've gotten from that, and learning, what to do on different projects, what to take from this project is irreplaceable.
But and leaving that project, getting it to a point that you feel good about selling it and walking away from it is fine.
Yeah.
You can take your knowledge that you learned out of it and apply it somewhere else and be happy with that. But okay, that's one type of project that you probably should walk away from.
Is going in blind is something you should watch.
We all do it, right? Yeah. But is there another? Be more precise.
Like I was saying earlier, the rare cars. Yeah. That's unless you know what you're doing and getting into.
It should not be your first project.
It should not be your first project.
Right.
That's something to turn around and run away from. Unless you've got all the time in the world, and even then, like say you're someone that's like 16 years old in high school and dedicated to finishing this, let's just say a road runner that you came across,
right?
That's going to be trying to find parts for that. It's going to be really hard, or you got to make them, and that's something that's going to take time to finish. Well, and plan on that being
realistic expectations of finishing the project too. Correct. Depending on how much you're biting off, right?
Yeah.
Is this a 5-year project, a 10-year project? Do you expect to have it running in 6 months?
Yeah.
You should go in with your eyes open. I've done a lot of different types of projects, from motorcycles to small car projects and this and that. I picked up that 67 GMC half ton, knowing that would be a really long-term project,
especially with a V12.
But I'm okay with that. I got a pretty good deal on the chassis, the frame, and all that, and I went and picked up. I'm purchasing parts that are going to go together, over time. But and I've told myself too, I don't care if it ever gets done. It's a project.
Yeah.
If it gets done and I actually get to drive it one day, awesome. But if it doesn't, I can probably sell it all and actually make a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't really care.
I also think for projects people should stay away from is projects that you can't build beyond your means. If you're limited to your garage or outside of the driveway, make damn sure that it's not going to need
more space than you have.
Exactly. A second, third donor car. You need a new engine. You need a welder. You need to have a paint booth.
Yeah. Or you've got good friends that'll help you out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
David, what do you think?
Well, I feel like you're calling me out because I have...
You've got a lot of projects.
I've got 3 cars parked in the driveway. Yeah. They don't all fit in the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get them there one at a time.
Yeah. The musical cars. Everyone's favorite game.
Yep. I'm doing the same thing.
I was going to go bold and say don't buy a classic, but I think you both made very good points. Is like, if you have the means to do it, then whatever. But to me, as like not a professional, is like, you buy a classic and then you're going to have to do all the metal work, and then you're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do all that. And that's before you can even start putting the thing together.
Yeah.
Right.
As an owner of a classic,
right.
I can tell you it's a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say the worst part about a classic is when a body panel or a certain part on the body is rusted apart and you've got to cut it out and rebuild that from scratch?
Yeah. Well,
it's an art form.
I had the benefit of, it's a 65 Mustang. You can get basically all of the sheet metal for it.
Yeah.
But it still sucks because you got to, A, you got to buy it, and then B, you got to cut it out and put it on and weld it and hope you don't warp the thing. And if you warp the thing, then you have to do more work. And
Yep.
As a very bad welder, I warp metal all the time.
Yeah.
Not very many people have an English wheel.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or know how to use it if they
Right.
have one. That's for the classic cars. Good luck finding one that's not all, has at least a little bit of rust. Doors, under the fenders, wherever.
Yeah.
Trunks, pans.
What about
floor
like for a modern, let's say 80s or 90s plus project cars you should stay away from?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's a valid question.
I really think like the
No, I
ones,
think there are some worth doing
but
in
one-
that era.
the ones you stay away from.
Right.
Like I think
The
like,
PT Cruiser, stay away from that.
don't get me started. I got stories on that.
So, anything from the Midwest or the East Coast probably that's rusted out, I would stay away from that.
Flood damaged cars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those out there.
Well, and for the listeners listening to, the main reason for flood damage, I would say, is because of electronics. Once
Yeah.
those get hosed down, modern cars, the hardest part is any ECUs, any sensors, the wiring. You
But
get
honestly,
rusted.
they're still subject to the floor pans rusting out in the trunks and that kind of stuff. You got to watch out for those cars coming up from,
Florida,
Georgia, all those areas, all the southern tornado areas, because they flood those things and then they ship them out.
Let's say for a full restoration car project, let's just not like a race car. Would you guys agree probably for the worst ones to restore of a modern age would be, I think, probably be a Mercedes or a BMW?
Cost-wise.
Cost-wise as well as headache-wise.
Yeah.
BMW, you've got
probably
too many
worse than
wiring going
Mercedes.
through it. They've got hydraulic systems that go through it like crazy. You've got specialized parts that you can't get. I mean, to be fair, if you're someone in Europe, that might be something different versus us in the United States. But I would say trying to find, like, say, a late 90s BMW with a V12 and has, I think in those cars, it's like 870 motors in there, like little tiny electronic motors everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Jeremy Clarkson said something on that on Top Gear.
What a nightmare.
Either that or like a Jaguar would be crazy. But
Those are not
definitely
cars you
shouldn't
want
be
to
your first.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, those
there
are not
cars
cars
that
you
you-
want to be on the first one.
what about cars that
Maybe an E36 or something.
Yeah,
Like,
something there's a million
or
of
what are
them
those?
out there.
Yeah, those 3000,
yeah,
those boxy older.
3000 GTs.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those cars.
No. That's not what I. The BMW.
Oh, the BMW.
Or is that a 2000? What is it?
2000.
Is it 2000? That's it. Yeah.
Those ones would be good.
Yeah.
But is there I just lost train of thought. Is there any cars you guys think that people will be like, this would be the easiest project? Everyone says the easiest project and is not the easiest project to work on.
Ooh.
Like things that like you think would be good to work on, but you should stay away and run from.
German cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, most German cars.
But I mean, specific. Like, no one's gonna say a
Audi.
Miata is like the hardest project to work on. No one's gonna say like a Mustang's the hardest one. Well, David might say it's the hardest. But
I was trying to figure out where you were going because I'm like Honda.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, is there like a
know.
Honda that
Honda would
like
be
a
super
Prelude?
easy to work on though.
Hondas are not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the newer it gets, you get more electronics and CAN bus and all that, and that can be pretty difficult. But I think there's enough troubleshooting help out there that you can get them figured out.
Well, like say
I don't
like
think it's the worst car.
say like if you got a 370Z that was beat the hell out of.
Yeah.
I mean, someone changed into a drift car and you wanted to restore that back to pristine. Do you think that's a viable option?
I do.
Okay.
After all the work I did on mine,
Yeah.
it's actually a good platform to work on. I was impressed
Yeah.
because I was actually, when I started modifying that car, I was very concerned about new cars and technology and how they build stuff. The
Yeah.
engineers piss you off every day when you're working on shit, because you're like, why would they design it like this? But that car actually was built to work on. It's pretty easy. Okay. I was really impressed. I was happy with it.
I would 100% go from a stock car to turning it into a race car. I'm not sure I'd want to go from like buying a drift car going backwards.
That's what I'm saying. Is
I wouldn't either, but it could be done.
Yeah, most modern cars, you wouldn't see them to be like, and say like with a 70s, 80s, or 60s car would be in condition to restore.
Yeah.
Like a modern restoration of a modern car, like a 90s, 2000.
So you're restoring the classics back from race cars to stock or standard car, right?
Well, like for example, like if
there's a different reason.
Let's just use this example. If someone, David, was to take your Fox Body and they had the gumption say, this is great as a race car, but it's 20 years later and we want to build this back to the factory 5.0 because now they're worth $300,000 for a factory 5.0 Mustang. Mm-hmm. Like, do you think that would be the easiest project in the world to do?
To me, yes.
Yeah.
But that's because I did all the work on it, so I know how to put it all back together. You'd have to source some parts because I've cut holes in some parts to clearance things and all kinds of stuff. But
once you start going race car, man, it's hard to go back.
Yeah.
To put, I've actually seen a few projects. I've done an awful lot of internet searching over the last few weeks. People taking old Camaros that were turned into drag cars, or old Novas, right? Turned into drag cars, and they're putting them back into a street car mode. And I'm like, that's quite the project, because when you start building a race car, you modify stuff that is not reversible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not easily reversible.
Yeah, you're going to be doing some cutting and grinding.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. And welding parts back, and so like you said, you've clearance things.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
And putting it back to stock is pretty rough at some point.
I just thought of a project that you should stay away from.
Do it.
Any of those Formula cars. Have you seen them? Like, you can buy wrecked or buy used, like Formula One cars or like Indy cars.
Will you please buy me one?
They're so, because when
I'm trying to figure out where the drawback is here.
Well, we had one. I remember when me, Cy, and Ryan, we used to talk about when you could buy like a Formula car for like $20,000 on a website.
Not an Indy car. You're talking like a Formula 5000 car.
Formula 4.
The guy? Randy is the guy who came to BACA and the Corvette Club once. He had them.
Phil,
thank you.
Yep.
He was telling us all about the site where to get those kind of cars.
I actually found one that I wanted to buy really bad, but I didn't have the garage space for it.
Yeah.
Formula Continental, full aero car. It was only like $9,000. I was all in, but I didn't have any place to put it.
Did it have the motor?
Huh?
It had the motor
and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it was full. It was complete running car.
Wow. But I think as a first car, that'd be a car to stay away from as a project. I just thought of a modern car that I think everyone should stay away from or be very weary of, and it's any Lotus. Just not only for the wiring, not only for because of hard parts, but I think because, like say the Lotus Esprit to the Lotus Evora.
Those are not beginner cars.
No, but they're built like the Esprit. Mm-hmm. They're built with not only plastic and aluminum, but they're bonded. If you damage the body, like for example, the Road and Track had a magazine. They said the front was cracked, and that doesn't look like it'd be an issue. It was a $45,000 fix because it destroyed the monocoque of the car,
right? And
to redo that and to make it structurally sound was not viable,
right. Yeah, not a beginner project.
It's also why a salvage title isn't that bad on those, because they will total them out for basically anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if it's a cracked, monocoque, it's done.
But sometimes it's just the shell.
Yeah,
which is just fiberglass. Yeah, which still sucks because the replacement part is like $15,000.
Yeah,
but
what about Porsche? Is that a project you just walk away from?
Depends on the car.
So. Yeah.
So like 70s 911s, 911s, they're pretty sought after now, right?
For sure.
And I think you can still get parts for them. Some of them you might have to source out of Germany.
I bet you can. Yeah.
But I know there was a ton of them that were shipped here.
Yeah.
But there's probably some of the more rare versions of those that you're not going to find parts for.
But if you came across a 78 911 air-cooled runs but not great for $5,000,
I'd do it.
100%.
Okay. I I think that's a project worth getting to. Any Porsche, I think, is any project worth getting to. But any older Porsches, say before the 90s, you need to know how to do metal work. A lot of those cars are known to rust out. Like on the 914,
I think you can say that about cars in general.
No, I agree. But like other than that, I mean, what's there? Because the Porsche has been so refined over so many years, and you have so many aftermarket parts, there's so many forms on it. It's like the Mustang. There's help everywhere for them. I think the only reason not to tackle an old Porsche is if you're not ready to do any kind of metal work. If you don't have the means to.
And I think the 911 or 914 falls into that.
Yeah.
It's super hard to find one of those that's not rusted out.
Yeah, and you have to prep for the hell hole, which is the battery tray, the front passenger wheel well, as well as the jacking points on each side of the car. Those are the three major rust points.
Have you ever seen any car that had a good battery hold though?
So with the 914 specifically, back in because it was 70 through 76, early 76, okay? At some point in that run, they noticed that the trays were rusting out, and they did make a factory recall to have a factory, like it's a water changing area for it or whatever, so water doesn't pool up there. So some cars did have that back end, which shouldn't have the hell hole. Now that granted, if it got plugged up or whatever, most people didn't get installed, because not like send out an email and people know. This is back in the 70s. You mean you get letters from the mail and have to know the dealer and say, come on in, we're bringing it through, or check the newspaper and it might go through. Not all of them had that.
Yeah.
So there's a very rare case they may have that. And if not, and you do have one, that's one thing to check on the restored one is how the owner or the current restoration project person did that, because it's a fairly large amount of metal they put in the back they have to replace.
So that's still not saying that you should walk away from that car, though.
No.
So I haven't really nailed that down. What car do you walk away from?
I think a Jaguar, BMW, Mercedes.
Even for an experienced
I think
project car.
Here's one.
Restoring.
Okay, I got one. I think we already established anything rare. If we're narrowing it down, I think if it's your first project, even if you're used to it, I really do think a 74 Fiat, the one I've got, really need to know what you're doing. I would argue and say a Pantera. Those are very specific, hard to get into. I would say something like a Vector. Any of the Vectors were made, all of the wiring with them are all same gauge white wires. So to find any wiring problems with it,
if you could even find that car, would be impressive to start with. But
so I think like the very odd and extreme, stay away from.
I agree.
I mean, even if you're walking in.
Even if you're fairly experienced, that would be you'd really have to check yourself. Yeah,
know that you're walking into the hells of fire, and no matter what kind of protection you bring, you're going to be doing some fighting.
Yeah.
I think fundamentally you need to think about it, right? When you go and look at that project that you want to buy and you want to pick up, you need to look at it and really not just look at the outside of the car, look at the under the hood, kick the tires. I think you actually need to crawl under it and look and see what kind of rust you're actually going to be dealing with.
And even at that, you're going to find surprises.
And while you're looking at it, you need to be asking yourself, is this going to be a reasonable rebuild for me?
Right.
Is
do some soul searching. Can you really pull this off? How? And again, talk about your timeline. What are you thinking, What's your turnaround? What is your plan? Do you plan on turning it around in a year or two, or is this
a 5-year project?
10-year
project? I think that's most people's downfall is not the timeline having it. Not having any. I'll get this done in 3 months. Like I said, Lambo, it's 2 years. And I think that was a pretty healthy timeline for me. End up being, I think 5 months is where I'm probably in for time-wise into it.
Actual
work into it. But I'm thinking time-wise, it's probably another like 6 months till it's done. I'm like, I don't have that kind of time. I've got too many projects, too many things into it.
Right. It's not a priority.
And that's someone who's, worked on project, had experience with it, and still knowing what's going on. But you can never plan on, say, like a medical issue comes up, work starts going through, family issues start happening. Really plan that if this is a project and have the place to put it, have the timeline to put it, if it's 3-month project, have a year set up just in case.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and
be mentally prepared for that.
I think a lot of people, when they jump into a project too, right? They go and they pick something, they get it home, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and all of a sudden, I'm going to do this, and this.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, they've got half the car completely ripped apart.
That was Gene in the 924.
Yeah. Like, okay, do it in stages, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Figure out how you want to do it first.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a full frame off restoration, great. Make sure you understand that takes time.
David,
and you're probably going to have to send parts out to get hydro dipped. And
Well, and life gets in the way, but also in the process of doing that project, you're tearing it apart. Just like we talked with Max last week in his Subaru, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gets into the project and then sees something new shiny on a different car. He's like, well, I'm already this far in. If I just go a little further with my project, I could do that too.
Yep.
And you change directions and you change gears and you change your mind about what parts you want to use, or maybe you have a little harder time sourcing this part or that part. So you change directions again. You know, stuff gets in the way. It's going to take you way longer than you thought.
David, when you started any of your projects, how did your timeline go for it? Did you kind of just jump in wide-eyed like that, or what? How'd that go?
I try not to set timelines because then I will miss it and then I will be annoyed about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to plan more of what I'm going to do and when, more than like a timeline per se. What the 65 taught me was I don't really like a project that doesn't run.
Okay.
Because then I don't get to at least enjoy it somewhat, which is why I built the race car the way that I did.
Yeah.
It's like, it was never down. I didn't miss events. It's just, you know, sometimes it's a winter project if it's a larger project.
Yeah.
But it's like the timeline is always short, and it's always do this one really small thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten into my wife's Mini yet, which will be an engine out. We're going to try to strip everything and paint it and all that other stuff. So that one, I think, this is something I'm going to have to think about for that, because I don't want it to be down for too long and then it also get put on the back burner and forgotten about in the corner of the shop.
Mm-hmm. So then because of how many projects you got, when was it the right time to grab another project? If timelines weren't in... You weren't thinking about timeline with that.
Oh, see, I go on Facebook Marketplace and I look at cars and I'm like, woo. And then I'm like, woo, that one's cheap.
Oh,
I do the same thing. Look at this project. Oh, I'm trying to make more room in my shop so I can buy another car.
I don't think there's a single car guy who doesn't look at Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace once a week or so.
Project, cars cheap, for sale cheap. I like the way you did your Mustang, right? I like to plan that way too. It's like, I know what I want to do. I know what projects I want to do, what parts I want to put on my Corvette and that kind of stuff. It's running now. I don't want to tear it apart until I have everything ready to bolt in, so that I can set aside that time. It's like, okay, I'm going to do the install now. It's going to take me 4 or 5 hours, maybe a couple of days, depending on what the project is. I've got everything ready to go. So I'm not tearing it apart first and saying, I want to do this, because I want the thing to run. I need it to run. So I've got events to go to.
Yeah.
You know,
I got a question.
Yeah.
Since you wait until you have everything, when you are prepping to install it, do you take everything out, lay it out kind of on the floor, how you're going to...
Typically, I will inventory, make sure that I've got everything I need. And I hate getting halfway through a project and realizing you don't have everything you need.
Yeah.
So,
and then how often do you replace the screws?
Screws for what?
Like, say you're installing...
talking about hardware, just replacement?
Yeah, just a new piece of hardware.
Nuts.
Are you taking the old hardware and throwing it in the garbage and putting new hardware
I mean,
in?
if it needs it, say I've rounded a head on something or whatever,
or for bolt stretch.
I'll definitely replace it then. But no, I reuse all the hardware that comes out, unless whatever I'm installing requires new, longer bolts, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I've had issues where a nut that's welded into the floor pan that would be used and it was starting to go. Just retap it. Get the threads back.
Part of the reason I ask is some of those like head studs and
sometimes those are one-time use. When you take them out, you have to put new ones in.
Torque things down, and torque it to spec or whatever.
Right.
You're actually elongating the threads.
Yep.
Every time you're stretching them. Every time you do that. So at some point you have to replace it anyway.
Yeah. Well, those are specific motor projects, but so some of those things, if you're changing those out, you have to be prepared and you have to have the new stuff to go in.
See, I think I would even do it on some of the brake system stuff and some of the suspension stuff.
Good
one time,
you. Not doing it. If I don't have to, I'm not doing it.
One time mid-run, I had a transmission bolt fall out. And someone handed it to me, and then I was like, all right, maybe I should change those. That's when I changed them.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right. Well, that's good. Good. I don't think we ever landed on one except for, don't get in over your head if it's a project that's beyond your capabilities. You should really do some soul searching of how long it's going to take to.
And didn't we all agree something rare? I know I said that.
Well, rare cars, but I mean, again, it still falls in the line of you better be realistic with yourself because that thing's going to get buried in the back of your garage because life's going to happen. Hey, I'm not saying don't take on the project, just be smart about it.
Yeah.
All right. So next topic is this is a Grant special.
Yay.
Automotive superstitions.
Ooh. I have a rubber duck in my car, and every time I raced, it had to be in the car.
That's just weird.
Yeah. It's a Batman rubber ducky.
Is there a particular reason behind that?
No. Well.
Okay, then.
No.
All right.
My wife had a rubber duck in her car that had purple hair for years. And I got this Batman one, and just before I started racing the Subaru, and I threw it in there and just decided it was my good luck charm. It's going to go in the car somewhere every time I race.
Some people have things like, especially for racing, right? A sequence of operation. Put your helmet on, buckle your helmet, glasses, gloves. They have to go on left hand first, right hand. Even the way they put their race shoes on, which one's before the other one. And it has to be that sequence every time or they don't feel right.
I feel like I'm being called out.
Are you that way?
That's me too.
Sometimes.
Really? Okay.
David, you go first.
Oh, mine is how you get in the car and put all your gear on.
Yep.
So it's like I've got the cage, so it's a little more complicated than a regular car.
Right.
So it's like you get in the seat, and then you do up the lap belt and the crotch belt, and then you close the door, and then you put the shoulders on, but not tighten them yet. And then you put your helmet on, and then you put your gloves on, and I have glasses, so I put those on too. And then you have to tighten it down, and then you're ready. And if I don't do it in that order, it feels weird.
Yeah. Yep. I kind of see that. I mean, I sort of have that same sequence, just the way I'm getting ready or whatever, but if it's out of sequence, I'm fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't, change anything. I can put my helmet on outside the car and then get in and I'm still okay. Whatever. But yeah, some people are like that. What's yours, Grant?
I've got a lot.
Of course you do.
I know, right?
You have to play Hello Kitty.
No. Well, it depends. So, like, one of my first superstitions I have is I play a lot of card games. Dragon Ball Z, Magic, and Pokemon's my big one. My Little Pony. Bunch of card games I've collected and played throughout the years. So, one thing I've had is that every vehicle of mine has a card, and I don't choose that. It's... If I find a card that's been just randomly in one of the cars or trucks or whatever, that becomes their card. For example, Liger's is a Magic the Gathering Drake card. My trailer is a My Little Pony card I had. My Excursion is a water card. I'm trying to think what else. I have a Super Saiyan card, I think, for something else.
So is this a superstition?
I don't understand. It brings, when that's around... I feel like nothing bad happens, or it just brings more positive energy.
Okay.
I believe, with the Excursion, with recent events, which we're going to bring up about that Excursion, that card was missing and ripped in half. Oh. And just something that, having it around just kind of it's like a good omen. The car chooses what it wants, and then it just kind of it's all around that.
So do you have a sequence of operations before you drive?
Oh, for when I drive.
Yeah.
If it's on the racetrack, it's a little bit different.
Racetrack.
If I've had a good lap, I try to double check on how everything goes. My biggest one is shoes. If the shoes feel looser than they were the previous one, I'll make sure to tighten them up. And that typically is when we're going through G-force, everything squinches up. So a lot of times I'll retie my shoes before a lap. If I've had a fast lap, that means I'm going to keep going. The other thing I'll do is I try to keep, when I'm racing, similar to what it would be if I was driving on the road. So like turn signals come on and leave my headlights on or try to. So that way it just keeps, everything good. It's just it's superstition, but also like habit, and I want to keep it the same way it is.
Yep.
As well as like when I race, for example, Liger's got her good luck charm I keep with her. So yeah, that being a charm that my mentor gave me years and years ago. He said, as long as I keep this with me, no harm will come to me, and as well as it will, make me fast. Which was this is back when I was part of the Lamborghini Club growing up. He gave me a Lamborghini locket kind of thing, keychain locket. That's like made of metal, of the bull onto it, of the shield. In fact, part of me says that's what keeps Liger's soul. That's why it always stays with her and never leaves that side. And yeah, that's something I think if that was gone from the car, I would feel something would feel off.
Interesting.
It does feel off when it's not in there.
Yeah. So have you heard of, or do you know of, like, I looked up a couple just because, it was kind of new to me. I'm like, I know that people have these weird superstitions about racing or whatever, but something about like red cars attract more tickets. That's a wives' tale / superstition. Don't know that it's actually true, but supposedly police look out for red cars more than any other car.
I could see that, or a yellow car. I mean, if you're driving, how often you're on the highway and it just in a split second catches your eye?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe catches your eye, but also that loud exhaust you have on your red car might have something to do with it.
That's true. I got a stealth mode on Liger.
Sure.
So
white cars have more accidents.
That I never heard of.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That one was new to me.
Isn't that just statistics?
Yeah.
There are more white cars than other colored cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't look up that statistic, but yeah, probably. I mean, that's a thought. There's just technically more white cars, so they're going to have more accidents.
Fleet colors.
Yeah, maybe so. My thought when I saw that was maybe white cars don't stand out enough. Like they blend in more than, especially here in the Northwest with our gray days and whatnot. So you don't see it.
I've seen superstitions on the track where I don't remember who was it, but there was a racer before he'd start every lap, he had to honk the horn. Do you remember that, David? I believe that was at a BC event, like at Packwood. It was like a couple of years ago.
I'm going to start doing that.
I don't remember that, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that just to be annoying.
Yeah.
Robin will throw something at you.
Probably. Yeah, probably true. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really come up with a whole lot of other superstitions, quote unquote. So,
do you guys think here's a superstition I've heard from some people, putting on parts that someone has, like, say, someone died in the car, and you're taking parts to put on a different car, if that bad omen comes to the next car?
I might actually think about that one.
That one, there's a few people. It was I think it was a racer from like the 30s who died, and parts of, I think 4 major parts of that car was put into 4 other people's cars, and those people had accidents within like a year. That's the biggest superstition one. I can't remember the exact details.
Right.
But I know there is, when death is involved in the car, I know people get kind of eerie about either racing or driving a car or putting those parts into other cars.
No, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say people that aren't superstitious might still feel that way. Be like, that kind of feels icky.
I will say one that, for me personally, made me feel weird was going as a kid. We would go to different collections and whatnot. One collection was in Washington. A man had bought a Ferrari in 70s Ferrari 512 512M, but it was the race one. It kind of looks like the Porsche 917. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it looks like that.
Yep.
And it was interesting to see the car until he said, they had just finished restoring the car. It previously had the person who owned it, or the racer that had it beforehand, had died in a fiery crash in this car, and they just finished restoring it.
Oh.
And seeing that car's pristine, knowing that like this was a fireball of death at one point, was really freaky as a kid to see that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, about restoring a car like that somebody died in. Should you just let the car go at that point? Like,
I think it depends on what it is and what you're doing with it.
Kind of
that, any of those, that type of car, 917 or the Ferrari of the same vintage, I mean, I get it. Those cars are of extreme value, especially now.
My Fiat's got a similar story to that. Very
specialized.
Might be worth more because somebody died in it.
Oh, that's a morbid thought, right? Maybe. Yeah. Depends on who died in it, I suppose.
Like, for example, my Fiat's got a similar story to that, but no one died in the car, but I know death was involved with the car that I own. Without getting too many details, because that'll be a whole nother episode, I know the person that's on the title, she passed away first, not in the car, and then the husband who eventually had that passed away. And the only reason I know that is because there was no owner in the title when I bought the car, and I had to go and verify these people passed away, and I talked to the detectives of when it happened and how they went through. That's a whole other episode. We'll get into it. But it made me good to know that no one died in the car, but there was people around that.
People die all the time, and that's going to happen.
True.
Unless they actually died in the car, it's not relevant.
True.
Okay.
They also died on Grant Street.
And you ended up with the car.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So just for the record, when I raced Liger last year, Rubber Ducky was in the car with me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
He keeps Rubber
Ducky was actually in the car most of last year.
Oh, interesting.
Rubber Duck thing's getting a little weird, Jeremy? Now.
No. That's not a segue.
No.
Okay.
I don't know. To
Just
what?
a fact.
To Liger.
If you want to talk about it.
Well, because you each have driven Liger.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Especially Rob drove it recently.
Mm-hmm. Just, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Well.
That's not a good well.
No, well, I gotta put my thoughts together. Why don't you start with your thoughts of me driving your car?
So, I should probably start with everyone as well, but I'll start with Rob first. So Rob driving my car, when he drove that, I know Rob is an extremely good driver, and there's only a few people I know who could drive my car at the same skill level. And I'm always trying to see people. I want them to drive my car to experience what I built, but I also want to see what I can learn. Mm-hmm. And from you, I definitely learned that there are spots that, as much as I know that car, I can push it harder.
Yeah.
That whole day, I was trying to trace to see what I can do to get to that new level. I'm like, okay, it can do this. Let's go. I remember Jeremy driving it, and I know you were having a lot of fun and stuff, but I was like, there's still a potential he hasn't reached with that car yet, but it's enough where while he was driving it, you can tell he was in control. It was giving him the commands he wanted, and still was giving you and Riley fun. And then with David,
until I looped it.
Yeah, and then David, I believe your first time driving Liger was at Evergreen, correct?
I think it was Sanderson.
Was it Sanderson?
I think it was.
Yeah, it might have been. And I remember you being very control in the car and very surprised on what it could do, being a stark contrast to your car. And it was very interesting to see, someone who's used to a lighter car trying to adjust for the heaviness onto that. And it was very good feedback to kind of get someone with a different driving style than mine. Whereas mine is, mine is keep high revving on Liger and drive, a heavy car with decent horsepower, but I'm driving it like a Miata. And there's times, my teachers taught me to point and shoot the car and use the actual horsepower when need be. But in courses like with the Viper Corvette Club, I have to momentum drive that car just to maintain any kind of competitiveness with you guys.
Yep. That is the one big thing I noticed about Liger, the lack of low end torque in second gear.
Yeah.
I was reluctant to shift into first because carrying the same speed or even close to that in my car, you don't shift into first. It would be counterproductive, put it that way. So yeah, coming around turnarounds, I was bummed because I was in second and just like, oh come on.
And it makes sense.
Let's go.
I'm always shifting down.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It after driving it makes more sense how you drive it and why. I was impressed with the throttle response. I was not expecting that because I watch you on course, and I hear your throttle blips quite often.
Yeah.
Very touchy throttle.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's why that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was just barely tapping the thing, and he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, what is going on? Okay, now I understand. Yeah. So
that hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't changed.
A little bit.
Impressed with the handling of the car, honestly.
Yeah.
It is a big car, heavy car, whatever, but it's actually stays fairly flat.
Yeah.
Like it drives pretty well.
And that's with
And it's responsive.
50% stiffness. I think when David drove it, I had it at 250% stiffness. Because the sway bar is adjustable, and there's different times I'll adjust it through.
Yeah. I think it could use a little bit more.
Yeah.
Honestly, but it was good. The course we had set up was pretty technical. It had some varying offsets and that kind of stuff. So I thought it was a pretty good representation of what the car could do. I did think it was the big step offsets that we went through.
Yeah.
I did think it was pretty funny that you were like, my car shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. I was like,
how did you do that?
We're losing grip. How is he still going?
Yeah. No, that was pretty fun though. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Jeremy's thinking.
Yeah. Got his thinking face
I'm
on.
always thinking. I got nothing. I was just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember you and Riley having so much fun.
Oh, we were giggling like schoolgirls when we spun out in the middle of the track.
Yep.
There's a fine line because you could either push her over that edge, but once you know that edge, it's easy to recover from it. Yeah,
we got done, and I had taken back off like nothing happened, right? And we got back to the end, and Bert was like jumping up and down. That was freaking awesome.
Also, braking in that car is really good.
Thank you.
Really good.
Yeah.
That was nice. Yeah. No brake fade, no nothing. Very positive, right where you wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
What'd you think, David?
I mean, the brakes are way better than my Fox Body, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I've all modern. I mean, I guess it's not that modern anymore, but all modern Mustangs is like the brakes work so good.
Yeah.
I was at WMC and the BCA event last weekend, and I was chasing the brakes the whole freaking weekend. It's just like you touch them and they lock up, and it's like, well, that's annoying.
Yeah.
I have so many flat spots on those tires now.
Yeah. I'm thinking my brake module in my Corvette might be starting to have issues because I was locking the brakes early in the morning.
Yeah.
Everything warmed up and it came back around and started working properly again, but I locked the brakes a couple of times.
Okay.
Which is not good because they don't make those anymore. That
junkyard finds.
Good luck. Yeah, I actually have a spare that we picked up from somebody parting their car out.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they had, so I got it super cheap.
Nice.
Yeah. If you can find a junkyard one, they're like $800.
Oh, wow.
And you don't know if it's going to work. So that's something I'm going to have to look out for. And the only other option, I think, for those is taking the entire system out and putting in a BMW system for $8,000 or something.
Okay.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want that for my
system?
car. It's so expensive, though.
It is.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, it's like $8,000.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but didn't they make for the Fox Body any kind of ABS system for it, like in the Cobras or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Interesting.
I'd have to check my Cobra.
The other thing
Well, I don't think
is,
so.
I know with Mustangs is essentially any generation, they're like Legos. I would be very surprised if we couldn't take, like, say, a Liger's ABS system and just pop it into yours. Pop new front spindles onto it and, popping the sensor for reading the Hall effect sensor onto it?
Yeah, because I have the 2003 spindles, I could have used the ABS from it. I don't have the actual ABS module, and it's like, would a 2003 ABS be as good as, what is it, a 2010 BMW Bosch unit? I don't know.
Be cheaper.
It'd be cheaper.
And something easy to install.
If it worked at all.
Yeah.
Better than what you have now.
Better than nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So, what I'm taking away
You might not have to deal with ice mode and that kind of crap.
That's true.
Fair enough.
Which is a positive.
That's true. So what I'm taking away is stiffer on Liger. Is there anything else you guys would change about driving that car, you think?
Put a proper bucket seat in it.
Oh, I did rebolster the seat, right, Rob?
I was fine with the seat, actually.
I actually took the seat and I not only reupholstered it the week before the race, but also rebolstered it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's got a lot more hug in the seat while still looking factory.
Yeah, I was okay with that. Stiffening up a little bit and then
More power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel bad saying that because of what I normally drive, right?
Yeah.
So
It throws a lot of people out because variable valve timing kicks in at 2,000 RPM. And it's not something you turn off. It's not like VTEC, because if you turn VTEC on, your car bogs. Same with Liger. So for me, that's why I got to keep the RPMs up, which also sucks because like you experienced, anytime I get below that in a corner, you got to downshift the first because it's dog. I mean, it takes seconds away.
Oh, for sure.
That you have when you're driving that car.
For sure. Yeah. And, to be fair, what I drove at 4 or 5 laps, something like that, I could get used to it. I could drive better laps just by experimenting with it and that kind of stuff.
What do you guys all think of the short shifter? It throws a lot of people off.
No,
being only like a little video game thing.
Didn't bother me.
Yeah.
No, and I didn't have to throw it very hard to get it into gear.
Yeah. You didn't have to break anything?
No, I didn't feel like I was.
I know Jeremy enjoyed the radio.
He was trying to connect it. So Rob and I both are of the school of thought, right? We want to hear the tires. We want to hear the car. We want to hear what's going on. Grant's got his music on, and he says he's got it low enough to hear everything, all of the same stuff. He was trying to connect his phone to the car while I'm driving past him.
It was so good.
I wish it would have connected. I think that would be
same would be the funniest thing.
Yep. I made him turn a radio
I would have blamed the radio for spinning out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wouldn't listen to it, and Grant was disappointed.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to play the radio.
No, I don't.
Nope, want to hear the car.
Yeah.
What's your school of thought? You don't have anything in that car. You don't listen to music.
No, I took the radio out a long time ago. Yeah.
So
that's like
30 pounds.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's what I keep saying.
And speakers and radio.
Magnets are heavy.
We had a whole episode about why the radio is important in the car.
Yeah.
Go back to episode 5 for that one.
Is that where that was?
I think so. It was with Adam. We were talking about that.
Okay.
Remember he had the Top Gear soundtrack?
Wasn't that 6?
No, it was...
Was it 6?
No. I don't know. Yeah, it was 6.
Okay, 6 then.
Top Gun.
Top Gun. Sorry, that's what I meant. Top Gun.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't...
Go ahead.
It wasn't Jurassic Park?
Oh, man. That's such a good soundtrack.
Is it?
The first one was... They do Side Tangent. They do it in Portland... And it's like just hear me out, every so often they'll do a live orchestra symphony for Jurassic Park and other movies while they're playing the movie in the background. They take off all the music.
We went to it.
We did for Indiana Jones. It was so good.
It was pretty fun.
You guys invited me to that one. I didn't go.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah.
If they do the other one, we'll do it.
Yeah. So David, your thoughts on Jurassic Park Jeeps?
Oh, my wife wants one real bad.
Yes.
My wife wants a Jurassic Park Jeep real bad.
So the Jurassic Park Jeep, on your side tangent, makes a reappearance in Jurassic World.
It does.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that part, or were you like, this is unrealistic, I'm so annoyed?
Well, the whole thing's unrealistic.
Yeah, they're like taking 30-year-old gas cans and putting in and battery. Why not? Let's make it run.
It'll be fine. It'll just start right up.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. But I mean, the whole movie's unrealistic.
Yeah.
And right down to the end, okay, we're going to lose listeners on this.
This Easter egg was really easy to find.
Where the dinosaurs are fighting each other and they let some other dinosaur loose and it helps them fight off the quote unquote bad dinosaur.
Yeah.
And then some whale looking thing jumps out of the ocean and eats him.
Rob, you should know this quote that sums up
so
that.
dumb.
This quote sums up everything, and you should know where this is from. There's always a bigger fish.
No, I don't know that one.
That was from Qui-Gon Jinn telling Obi-Wan Kenobi
Oh.
in episode 1.
What?
Yeah. Remember they're in the submarine? There's always a bigger fish.
There's submarine?
Did we?
David,
There's
can
a
you?
there's a submarine?
Can
we start
confirm.
drinking this morning? What happened?
What
It's after they
happened?
saw the gun.
Okay, let's go back to cars.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, listener.
Also,
We're
for the
back.
record,
We're back down to one listener now.
when I'm track driving, I even put in earplugs.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is your car overly loud on the inside because it's all stripped out?
I think it's louder on the inside than the outside.
Really?
Yeah.
How close do you come with the sound limits for your car on tracks? Are you close to that dB limit?
Not even close.
Okay.
But I have dumps, so it points at the ground,
Yeah.
and I still have mufflers.
Okay.
I was concerned about mine last time out at PIR, but they never popped me, so I don't know what it ran, but they never pulled me off the track. No black flags.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Classic tech. This is another Grant topic.
Mm-hmm.
Classic tech that used to be futuristic. Now it's either everyday or it faded into
Or just obsolete.
Yep, obsolete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OBD2.
You think
I
so?
mean, no,
Yeah.
that's not
No.
classic. That didn't fade.
No, it didn't fade.
And OBD2
well,
what
the-
was
OBD2
2000?
killed OBD1 Raiders.
Oh, absolutely. It was an upgrade.
Points.
Well,
Points are gone.
yeah. All distributor caps are gone.
Yeah.
That's not really what I was talking about, though.
Futuristic tech, like cell phones in your car.
I mean, yeah,
That
stuff
was
like
a
that.
big thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like having the ability to call your phone and now it's in your pocket. You know.
Oh, shit that's gone.
Yeah, or something that's like
CD changers.
I mean, anything pre 1989. You know,
I would
think
argue-
about
well-
the cars that are.
here's one that's existed in the 60s, kind of, and is still kind of in modern cars is GPS. I would not GPS, but navigation, because they used to have it where it was cassette tapes you would put in your car and it would go through your radio and it would change the speedometer and tell you when to turn, and you'd have to change cassettes where you were going. It's a thing.
Wow,
I'll show you.
I'm going to have to look that up.
I've
No,
never
I
seen
didn't see that. I did a
Yeah.
little bit of research on that topic.
Volkswagen had one, and it was an option that could be retrofitted to other cars.
Oh, wow.
And it used the counter of the
8-track.
no, not just that, but it was you know, whatever how you attack the mileage, it's on a cable which revolves
Odometer, yeah.
odometer, and it revolves, and that clicks so many times,
Yeah.
tells a sensor something
How many miles
to
you
click
went.
to hit play, and it will stop that at the end of the certain, like, turn left, pause, wait until so many rotations, go in, pause.
Wow.
The problem is if you ever went above that mileage or veered off course or whatever,
Yeah.
you'd be lost in where you were going.
Sure.
And you had to make sure you're parked in specific parts when doing that.
And don't spin your tires.
Yeah,
Yeah. To throw it off.
But that was futuristic at the time.
Oh, absolutely. They were trying to figure that out. That's cool.
I mean, even I would say, think about it. We had in the 90s and early 2000s, we had navigation on there. Like on the Ferrari, it's a little screen on like the 430 that says turn left or right. Very inaccurate,
Yeah.
you know, nowadays. Or if you had it on like a Volkswagen Touareg, you'd have CDs you would put in to update it on maps. I think that's something that
Onboard navigation has, yeah.
is gotten where it's like, well, you
Now
know,
it
Android
would just-
Auto or
Yeah,
you
they
know.
just use the phone, which is a much smarter way to go. But
I like Ford's navigation, but I think that's a future tech that now just everyone takes for granted nowadays.
I never really liked the onboard navigation. I
Really?
tried, yeah, because they were so clunky and they didn't keep up to date.
On Ford?
And any of them. Yeah, mostly Ford because
which
that's
Fords
really
do
all
you
I
have?
have.
4 or 3 on there.
Fuck, I don't know.
Well, I've got
I
the
have Sync
Ford
3.
Three,
You've
I
got
think.
3. I've got Sync 4. It
I
works
think
really
mine's
well.
3. I just
Like,
use my phone.
You can grab your Sync and say, you know, find me, you know, a burger place that doesn't sell tacos.
Yeah, but
And
I'm
it
not
will-
talking about sync. I'm talking about the onboard navigation.
True.
The way, you know, before you were plugging your phone in, you
Yeah.
could program in the address on the GPS built in.
Yeah.
They just weren't ever very good,
No, yeah, I
and they
mean,
were
those
hard to
weren't good.
navigate and that kind of stuff.
And
But
you-
I'm talking about. All right, let's back up this topic.
Future
here.
tech.
Future tech from the 50s.
Yeah.
you know, something like so.
The onboard shaver.
Cadillac in 1952 had
Okay.
auto dimming headlights.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't realize that.
It's hard to get now.
Oh, my truck
I know.
freaking does it all the time.
I know. Yeah, you can get it now. You can also turn that off, but not everybody has it.
That's true.
Right? And that tech was available in 1952, but then kind of disappeared for 30 some years. Or probably more than that, actually. I don't think it got popular again until 2019 or 2010. Rather.
When did airbags come out? Because they came out and then they disappeared
87?
for no
Airbags?
I don't know.
They were
I didn't see
invented
that.
back in the 60s or something, and then didn't actually come in, start getting put into cars until late 80s, early 90s.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't see that on my search. Did you know? From 57 to 64, push button transmission controls.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I've seen trucks and stuff with that.
Yeah.
And it's weird that's making a resurgence,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it totally makes sense now, dials and push buttons, because the linkage is just not even necessary. Everything's controlled by a computer anyway.
I still don't like the push buttons.
No, it's kind of
I actually like the old ones because they're mechanical.
makes you feel out of touch, right?
Yeah.
But who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're driving an automatic, push the button, put it in drive and go.
What about windshield wipers that are on your headlights? That was a future tech, and you never see that anymore anywhere. Remember?
Mercedes
has
has
yeah.
Yeah. Still?
Yeah. How old are you thinking of?
Well, I'm thinking in the 70s, 80s, they had it because, to my knowledge, for cleaning headlights now, most cars use when you tap the spray for your windshield, it'll spray a jet onto your headlights and clean them that way. So they don't have the windshield wipers anymore. So that was a future tech. I'm thinking, okay, you know.
It used to be you'd only see it on really fancy cars with the little windshield wipers on the Mercedes.
The old car that had the headlights that moved with the tires.
Tucker was the first one.
That was cool. And I don't think many manufacturers do that now, right?
I think there are some. Like Volkswagen has a car that has it.
Do they?
Mm-hmm. Huh. In the last 6 or so years, trying to think of, it was one of their higher end sedans. Yeah. There's been a few since that have done it, but it never really stays for some reason, that technology. I've seen a little bit where they have what's the Escalade, when you turn on your turn signal, it turns on like an extra, it's not necessarily a headlight, or some kind of brighter running light on that direction that lights up around the corner. So it's similar to the idea, but it doesn't actually physically turn the headlight.
Does that.
My truck does that too.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest technologies back, old technology that either failed or we don't see anymore or became obsolete, the jet engine. The turbine powered cars, I think that was a big letdown. That should have been something that came.
I just don't think they're efficient enough.
How so?
They make a lot of power, but, efficiency, Grant. I mean, you're spooling up a jet to drive a car. It's not efficient fuel economy or... So it
burns every type of anything combustible, perfume,
that's
oil.
Not the point.
So
it's how much of it takes.
There is a car that makes they use a helicopter motor, and or helicopter engine. It's a turbine, and it's not the power plant. They actually use it as a power plant to charge batteries, and it's DC motor.
Is that new?
God, when did they make that? I'm trying to remember what brand it was even. They didn't make very many of them.
Yeah.
Like maybe a couple hundred of them total. And the theory behind it was they could fill this 10-gallon fuel cell, and they had batteries, and as the batteries needed to be charged, they get down to 20% or something like that, these turbines would turn on, create a mass amount of power in a short amount of time, charge the batteries back up, and not use a whole bunch of fuel doing it.
Yeah.
And then they would power back down and continue to drive. Kind of a interesting concept.
Yeah. I don't know, Grant, to your point, there's been, it seems like, several different manufacturers try the turbine engine. In fact, there's one at that Brothers Museum. Do you remember what car that is?
The which one?
That has either a helicopter or a turbine or something.
No, that one uses a P-51 Mustang engine drivetrain.
Okay.
Yeah. from World War II.
So that's piston.
I don't think that's the same one we're talking about.
No?
Though.
Okay.
No, because the one I'm thinking of is actual helicopter engine. I think it's rear mounted too.
That one I'm not sure about.
Is that a Tucker?
I can't remember.
Oh,
I do remember seeing some history on that somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll have to look it
Real
up.
important,
real fast.
real impressive.
It says
Can't
from,
remember.
for the Chrysler jet car, by the way, from back in the day, it says it made 14.5 miles per gallon and 18 and 19 on the highway for 60s tech.
Yeah, I mean,
That's not bad.
not terrible. Not terrible.
Yeah.
That might have been the car I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, you can run on anything, though. Could you imagine going home right now with that kind of technology and throwing in just your used kitchen oil into it?
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a tech that, faded and probably at least should have been looked into. Kind of like rotaries.
Well, I wonder too how expensive is that to produce those
That too.
engines?
But imagine if we would have continued at that era and
Right.
economy scale on that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, can you make them quiet?
Yeah. Right.
Most people don't want loud cars anymore.
Yeah, no, that's another
That's
big
true.
thing. Well, think of this: how quiet have we gotten jets now? I don't really remember this, but I remember Joe Rogan talking about this because I, grew up as a kid. You guys are more around those.
You grew up as a kid?
I know.
He's still a
I didn't
kid.
grow up around this era, but Joe Rogan talked about. He's like, think how much quieter airlines have gotten. When an airline would travel on the path, it'd be so noisy to be in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and now you barely notice them.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So I mean, they have gotten quieter.
Yeah. Well, to your point, yeah, technology.
Yeah.
If they continue to use it, they would continue to develop
Yeah.
all those either quiet features or, maybe it's not as expensive to produce those motors if they would have kept going or something. I don't know. Yeah. I do wonder why it failed.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of, why it didn't take off? Why didn't it continue to be used?
Yeah.
There had to be some, largely financial, probably.
Oh, I for
Reason.
the jet engine, there's so many. I'll send you a whole video link that Haggerty did. It's an hour-long documentary. Fascinating. Jay Leno talks half into it. You've got
right.
multiple guests that are into it. They talk about the rise and fall, and the biggest thing it came down to is when they built the car, they didn't have any money, and the second biggest thing was infrastructure. How do you get mechanics to start working on jet engines? No one's ever worked on it. How do you get parts to people? Even though it was a great machine, fascinating documentary. I'll send you later to watch. But back to tech, though. Have you seen those, it was in the cop cars back in the day where they'd have, areas for their guns for pistols? That was future tech back then.
I don't recall
an extra
that.
long handle.
I remember having all the spotlights mounted in the column,
Yeah.
in the pillar, right? The remote spotlight. You don't see that very much anymore.
Do the Explorers not have that?
Some of them do.
Some of them do.
Some of them are up top now.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. What about hidden fuel tanks, fuel fillers? That used to be a big thing.
That used to be a huge
Yeah,
thing.
they'd hide them in tail lights or behind the license
the
plate,
yeah.
or all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't
I
even
would
care
just put it
anymore.
behind a door.
Yeah, they don't even
Yeah.
care.
I mean, look at the new Z. It's got a giant fuel filler flap now onto it. They're like, here, it's there, fill here.
There it is.
You know, I think the closest thing we got to that is probably with EVs and where they're hiding their plug-in ports, right?
It still looks like just a filler door, though.
But some of them,
The ones
isn't
I've
the
seen.
Rivian tried to put it behind badges or something like that?
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, I haven't noticed that.
Somebody
Right?
has it right behind, the badge on the side and the front, where your F-250 or F-350 badge is.
Isn't it the Lightning?
It's like a door that flops open.
I think it's the Lightning. Isn't it? Might be.
I don't remember.
Oldsmobile in the 50s had a power opening trunk. You see it all the time now, but in the 50s, for a
Click a button and it should open up. Yeah.
Yep. Power open, power close.
Yeah, I think Cadillac had those too.
And that's another technology that disappeared for 40 years and then came
And it
back.
just came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did power tops ever go away? I know. So the Lincoln
For
Continental had
convertibles?
that. Yeah, Lincoln Continental had that for a while, but did that?
I don't think it ever went away. I think once that hit, nobody wanted to do it by themselves. It was always power after that.
Did Cadillacs have that in the 70s and 80s?
I think they did.
Did they?
I can't imagine them not being.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting thought. How about hand crank windows?
Oh man.
Back in the
Still
day,
have them.
where Can you buy a new car with hand crank windows?
Actually, yeah, you can.
What car?
Any
I think
Fords.
Ford has them.
What?
Hyundai.
F-150 you can, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The low end cars.
Really?
Still,
Yeah,
still have
if you go with the
Like the
base,
XL?
the XL base,
Really? Still
completely.
has hand crank windows?
Almost positive.
That
we have,
really
We have
surprises
like one
me.
that's like a 2019, I think it's those crank.
That really surprised me
Yeah.
because it's got to cost more to get those parts
Oh yeah.
than the bazillions of stock they have in power. You know, the power motors and all that stuff. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you could still get a car with that in it.
Does Chevy do that or Dodge? Like you had the
I'm
very base
assuming everybody has a base model, something or other, that
Yeah.
you can still get it.
David, do you think of any future tech like back in the day that you're surprised isn't seeing or that's gone or failed or anything?
Record players.
In a
Yeah.
car? You could get that in the car?
In the 1950s, they had record players in cars.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy because records are actually making a comeback with hipsters. Like honestly, it's
No,
true.
I know what they are, yeah.
I have a huge record collection.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think there was a couple limos that had laser disc players.
Yeah. I actually think I remember hearing is CDs are going to be making a comeback soon.
Gross.
No, and they're coming back because they can actually hold more data now. Back then, I think DVDs you can hold up to 5 gigabytes, and now they're predicting now with new CD technology you can hold up to, a petabyte or something like that in there, or half terabyte. It's insane.
Dual layer discs.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be.
They're doing it on an atomic level now instead of laser sensing. They're sensing where the atom's at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what I'm
just
saying is
happened?
that's an old technology because the record players then went 8 tracks, then went cassette players, then CDs. CDs fade. Everyone's like Bluetooth. We could see that being a resurgence.
Yeah. There was one that I did see in my searching was, I think they were, it was Chrysler or Cadillac. They had a swivel driver's seat. So like when you park the car, you could actually sit in the seat, you release a lever and the whole seat would turn so you could get out easier.
Yeah.
And then they had steering wheel columns that would like fold up out of the way.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So
I think there's only a couple manufacturers do that now.
with the column or
With the
I know you got-
rotating seats.
I've never seen it.
So
Can't you get that in a camper?
exactly, Mercedes still does that in their campers that you can do.
Oh, in like the Sprinter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Dodge Caravans used to do that, but I think it was the seats behind those
The
kind of seats.
Econoline
Yeah.
might do it.
Yeah.
The Ford
But
Econoline.
the steering column though would move out of the way. That's interesting.
Yeah, it would pivot. It was like on a knuckle and it would move out of the way.
Interesting.
Comfort entry.
Here's a question.
Kind of crazy.
What about the ways of starting cars for future tech? We went from crank to a turnkey to the turnkey push button to push button.
The remote start.
Do you what's your guys' thoughts like on, for example, the button coming back? Like people are like, it's a redundant button. Why would you have that? You have to put your key in and do it. Now it's actually push button start.
Explain that again.
So, like for example, on a Dodge Viper, you got to put the key in, turn it all the way, and then push the big red button. And it's always fun to push the big red button. But a lot of
But
people,
you have to have a key and turn it.
yeah.
Well,
That's kind of dumb.
you put the key into the slot. It wasn't a key. It was like it's a key
Like
fob.
a fob slot.
Yeah, you put
Sometimes, yeah.
the
Well,
fob in there. And
I
then push the
imagine
button.
for security, they're probably having to do that because of how easy it is to hack the signals.
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is copy that signal and you have access to that car and you can drive it.
Did remote start used to exist in any like old cars like in the 50s?
Not
or
that I
60s?
found.
No.
No.
Okay, I don't think so.
I don't think they had the portable radio signals that they would be able to start it, right?
Yeah.
To sequence that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first technology I remember seeing for like a start kill was this little chip that went like underneath the steering wheel that people would plug in.
I had
When
one of those, yeah.
When they left, you just pull
unplug
it and walk
yeah.
away.
Do you guys-
It disables all the starting.
Do you guys remember it was in the Hondas, I believe, of like the 60s, maybe early 70s? Actually, I'm pretty sure the early 70s. Whereas if your car broke down, you weren't given a spare tire, you were given a little fold-up moped.
No, I haven't seen it. Really?
That was like their future. Like, here, if you still need to get to work, they pop it up. It's like this big size suitcase folds up. It goes like 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little Honda suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
They just came out with a new one. It's electric now.
The
Oh, they
Honda,
did?
Honda suitcase, yeah, I saw that.
Could you imagine if that was there instead of spare tire? I'd pay so much money to have that as an option.
I'd
in
be
your car.
so
I
pissed
wouldn't.
off.
I'm not leaving my
Fucking
car.
kidding me? Yeah,
True.
it won't be there when you get back.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Having that,
That's the
'cause
problem
most
with
times they'll
today's
give you
society.
a filler can now. They don't give you a full size spare a lot of the time.
Yeah. I don't care about the mini spare. That's fine. At least you've got something.
Yeah.
A lot of cars have run flat tires.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
true enough.
gosh, those things are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
And heavy.
Yeah.
Super
yeah.
heady.
So you got a solid rubber ring on the inside of
What
the
about
wheel.
hidden headlights? Hidden headlights. have
headlights.
Gone away.
They're coming back.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but
What do you mean?
In
Have you not
what?
seen the new Lambos?
That doesn't count.
So-
those really don't count. Not on your everyday
it's-
car.
If it's
Oh,
coming back
Italian
in one
sports
car,
cars is something.
it doesn't
It's
count.
not a comeback. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Italian sports cars, yeah, you're still going to have them here and there,
They're
but
trying to make it so, from what I was saying, is like, it's not just them, there's some other manufacturers, but they make it so that way you have to have by law a fixed headlight at a certain position. That's what's shown, right? So you push it, and instead of having them pop up, they pop down, and you have
Yeah.
more lights accessed in between.
yeah. I don't know. It used to be a thing, almost a status thing, like the big old town cars and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like the Challengers lights.
And there
that
was,
fold
yep,
up.
yeah.
Was it the Cougar had the ones that were in the grill and the grill would open around?
Yeah, yep. There was some. They had some really cool designs of hidden headlights and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Different ways of going about the same thing. Like some of them, what was it? The C4 Corvette. They flipped all the way over,
Yeah.
which was kind of crazy. The Miura. You could still see the headlight, but then it would just kind of tip up a little bit.
Yeah.
Those were kind of
like
cool.
the 928s kind of.
Yeah, a little bit like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I don't know. You don't see a lot of that anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like some of those options, they're still pretty cool, but manufacturers, I don't know, they go away from those things for maybe it's cost, maybe it's they don't care anymore about design and that kind of stuff because there's so many bland cars on the road anymore.
Yeah.
I always thought it was pedestrian safety
That too.
because, like, now you have this big flat thing in the front. You're gonna break someone's leg if you hit them.
I don't know.
With the pop-ups?
If you
Yeah.
hit them, you're going to break their legs anyway.
Well,
so.
Well, true, but think if it was like how on the Cougar where it's in the grill, you know?
That's fair. I don't know.
I think part of the reason they probably went away from it was the reliability of those things opening.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, they would definitely suspect.
Right.
And depending on their, if they were using vacuum to open them, was not great. And then,
Oh yeah, vacuum
but
problem.
you figure out, like in today's electronic world, they've got little solid state motors that will run for freaking ever.
Yep.
Really, and they're cheap to replace if they do burn out. So it doesn't feel like it would be that big a deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Bring back the Miata with pop-ups.
There you go.
That needs to happen.
A lot of hidden storage compartments. They used to have a lot of that too.
What about suspension? Because we used to go. I know hydraulic suspension was a big thing back in the 50s and 60s. Like Mercedes would tout they'd have the soft suspension, and that went away. That was because it was eventually replaced with what, air ride suspension, and that got replaced with magnetic suspension.
Mag ride, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, think how long did we have that for? I think it was up to the 80s that was touted as the best suspension, the softest and
What,
quietest.
the hydraulic?
The hydraulic, yeah. You can get them in Jaguars.
Was it active hydraulic?
Active hydraulic.
Yeah.
You get them in Bentleys, you get them in Rolls Royces.
Yeah, I mean, that's high end stuff.
Yeah, but it was futuristic. If you had
Yeah, for sure. Well, mag ride too is also very futuristic.
That's true.
Also very expensive. Not something you get in your Hyundai.
You know, it's super futuristic that started out being in the sports car and ended up being everywhere. Fuel injection
Yeah.
started with the Corvette, and that was the biggest deal back then. Oh, you don't need to change, your carburetor; just sprays it directly in there, and it's who talks about the carburetor?
Cutting
anymore?
edge. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Well,
We did last show,
Yeah.
a couple shows ago.
electronic fuel adjuction. It adjusts for everything. It adjusts for humidity and altitude and
ethanol.
pressures, everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. So smart stuff. One other cool thing I saw was a station wagon, 50s something. I think it was Oldsmobile, but they had a tailgate that power retracted down into the bottom of the car. It didn't fold down.
What?
Didn't swing open. It had a power retract. It just like disappeared. It was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. You don't see cool stuff like that anymore.
No. I mean, you get gimmicks every so often. You got
Yeah,
And I think having that gimmicks are nice to cars, but when's the last time we had something that like technologically changed the field?
Yeah.
That said, like, this feature, everyone's got to have it. I think I know. It's the step. I think when...
Power.
Not the power step, but the... like how Ford's got that push.
Tailgate step.
The tailgate step.
Oh,
Like when... I think Ford was the first one pushed it, then Chevy came back, and then everyone had to have one after that.
It's awfully handy.
Or the tailgate that freaking
folds out
into a step rather than just a step popping out.
Exactly.
Yep.
Does your truck have the step?
It does not have the step.
Does your truck have the step?
I want to put the step
mine
in
too.
there. I'm pretty sure I can put it in there because they don't take away the hardware that goes inside.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the mounting points. But
you're talking about the one in the tailgate?
Yeah.
No, mine has the under bumper step.
Yours is the under bumper?
Yeah, I'll show it to you after the show.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, mine's got...
My 2010 had the in tailgate step, and the issue I had with that, it worked great, no problems, but it made the tailgate weigh 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, mine,
so freaking heavy.
Yeah, mine's got like you'll have to push button and it comes down its own speed, so you don't really hold down it.
Yeah,
and push up is pretty light. My thing is just how tall the new F250s are and the 350s. Like I'm a young guy, quote unquote, and it still takes effort if you're trying to put stuff up there and jump it up and down. It gets on you after a while.
I do like the step on the side of your bed.
Side steps are very nice though. They're super handy.
Yeah, I went and got the extended running boards. When I bought my truck, whoever had it before I did put aftermarket running boards on it. I don't know why they would replace the stock Super Duty running boards. Are awesome.
I'll tell you why.
But I tore those off and I went and found the extended ones, the ones that go clear back to the bed.
Yeah.
And I put those on there.
Nice.
They're much nicer.
So I have the stock ones on my truck. I want to throw them in the garbage.
Really?
I like them.
I like the way they look and all that stuff. The chrome. It is a known issue on
it's
them.
It's crappy chrome.
Yeah.
The step itself is much better than the ones that were on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I looked at a bunch of them. Some of them had good chrome, some not. The ones I picked up, they were cheap, really. But it's bubbling a little bit, but I don't really care.
Yeah, but I get
it.
I'm probably gonna pull mine off for black ones or the ones that
the
auto come out.
The auto ones are pretty sweet.
I do like those.
When did those come out?
They've been out for a while.
Yeah, they have. I'd say at least 10 years.
I mean, when's the first manufacturer put them out? And I'm surprised.
To put them out as an option?
Yeah, like I know Escalade did that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that hasn't been a standard option or an option. Like
I think it is an upgrade option.
Like on Fords, you can't do that on the Super Duty.
But you can get aftermarket ones for
but I'm
like the 80s and 90s trucks.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, but I like the stock ones. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Question for you, David.
Uh-oh.
Yep. This is a thinker. What car is a hard no for you?
You specifically.
You specifically.
Because we talked about this.
Yes, this is a weekly discussion with the guest. What car is a hard no? Even if it was presented to you and said, "Here's the keys," you'd be like, "Nope, pass."
Free?
Yep.
Is there a hard no?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, there is. Everybody has one.
I'm willing to bet you've got one that we already have said.
Okay.
I have a feeling I know what it is.
Enlighten me, please.
PT Cruiser.
Well, other than that, Ariel Adam.
What's wrong with an Ariel Atom? Other than we live in the Pacific Northwest and you can never drive it.
Exactly.
You get 3 days of driving a year. And it takes up garage space.
Grant, what's your hard no car?
That's a tough one.
Wow, you guys.
No, I know, right?
I mean, the thing is
you were warned.
I know I was warned on that one.
Even if you're given a car for free, you can still sell it.
No, let's say you can't sell it. This is something that sticks with you. You know it's going to...
That you're just not allowed to sell.
Not allowed to sell.
I mean, that's a long list then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What if you were given the keys, you're having it's stuck with you for life. This is your torture. This is the sign the deal with the devil. You had to take this. It goes from you to your grandchildren. This will be what you'll be known for is bringing around this car. What is that car, David? That you say, I can't do this.
PT Cruiser would definitely be one.
Yep.
Yeah.
1999 Porsche Boxster. Dad.
Really?
Wow.
There's one that's been living in my shop for... how long have I lived there? There's one that's been living in my shop for 9 years.
Okay.
Wow.
And hasn't moved.
Does it not run?
Why?
Technically, it does run, but it hasn't run in like 5 years because the battery died. And I was like, "Do you want to replace it?" And he was like, "Nah."
Okay.
That doesn't sound like a hard. If you replace the battery and it's good to go, like I thought that would be actually a really good car to have.
Well, it also needs an IMS bearing, and apparently that's like a $6,000 service. So it's like,
Yeah.
Put a battery in it and sell
Anyway,
it.
so I didn't see a Boxster coming, but all right. PT Cruiser for sure. That's been on everybody's
I think
list.
for me it'd be any early gen Kia or Hyundai. I could not stand the
Yeah,
reliability
I would
issues
agree with that.
Okay, so if we put
and the performance issues. No,
a Hyundai, a Kia, and a PT Cruiser in front of you, and you have to drive one, which
PT
one?
Cruiser.
Oh my god!
I would take that over the we're talking like
Yeah,
a 99.
I hate that car, and I agree with him.
Because I mean the fact is the new ones are getting nicer, and I'm starting to change a little bit for example Hyundai, but the early ones with those engine reliabilities and transmission reliabilities.
You're too practical.
Yeah, I want to replace an engine every 30,000 miles.
I didn't say you had to
50,000.
replace the engine. You just had to drive it.
Yeah, but we're okay.
So
Just making it
the
hard on
new,
you.
the new Hyundais, right?
Yeah.
My wife and I, 6 months ago, were having a conversation about them. Somebody in our family owns one of the big Palisade, SUV ones,
SUV,
right?
yeah.
And we were both looking at each other like, why would you buy that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit less expensive than, the whatever is in its class, right? Whether it's the Chevy Suburban, the, Cadillac, whatever, right? It's less expensive. But your resale value is shit. Your reliability is not as good.
It's questionable.
It's more questionable. The parts are going to be probably more expensive.
I don't maybe
I don't know
not
that for sure, but
Yeah, maybe not.
maybe not as readily available.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It was a hard no
they've
for
planted
us.
themselves in the market pretty heavy. I would say parts are probably readily available.
Yeah.
Resale, I would agree with you, is probably not great. Reliability, I think they've been working on that.
They're not the 80s version of the Hyundai.
Yeah,
but
when they first came in the market, it was a throwaway car for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anymore, I'm not sure.
I think I got mine.
Okay.
David, don't hate me. I think it'd be a first gen, smallest motor you can get, no options out, Mustang 2. Base model, all the way.
That'd be a hard no.
That'd be a
First
hard
gen?
no. First gen. 4-cylinder.
4-cylinder.
That's a 65 though.
No,
it's 79.
For Mustang 2.
Mustang 2.
Mustang
Yeah.
2.
70.
What do you think, David?
I mean, it's a Gen 2 Mustang.
Yeah.
That's a 2.3 liter.
Still a Fox body.
Still Fox body. But, I mean,
I would
60 horses?
I would actually take one for the.
I think they were more than that.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was more than 60.
It was 89.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 89 horse. Yeah, just for the collector value of it, because
Aren't the Mustang 2s, aren't they really falling in value? Or are they actually starting
they've got to be cheap as shit right now. Yeah, because it's really not a good car.
No.
You
And
could
they're
sell
ugly.
just
I would still take that over a PT Cruiser.
yeah, you could sell just the steering mechanism out of it and get value.
Oh yeah, you know
True.
what? Those Mustang 2 front clips are really good for restore projects. They use a lot of them.
It's
Okay,
very
true.
innovative at
Yep.
the time.
Yeah,
Okay, true.
And it's shaped like a toilet seat.
interesting.
The brace on them is shaped like a toilet seat.
Ain't that some shit?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you settle on one, David? PT? Was that it, or
We do PT, but like, here's the thing: if I can never sell it, the list is so long.
Then start going through it. I want to hear it.
give me a couple more?
Any BMW that's not an E30,
Okay.
Oh, E30 is a.
I'd have an E30.
Including the James Bond one, the was it the A7 or the one from Tomorrow's Not Enough?
Yeah, because that's a 5 Series, isn't it?
No, I'm gonna pull
So
it up
any
real fast.
BMW other than an
The 5
E30 is
or
a hard
7.
no,
Yeah,
just because it's BMW.
it's too expensive.
What about Mini? It's a BMW product.
The classic minis are better.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a classic mini.
Yeah.
Which one is this one? This is
Now that was made by who though? Because that's Classic Mini was not BMW.
It's Cooper.
No, it was not. It was made by.
I mean Cooper, but
Z8.
The Classic Minis were made by like 4 different companies. What was ours made from? It's a Mayfair. And I'm trying to remember, and I can't. Who actually made it?
hey Google, go look that up.
Well, Rover made some.
Thanks, buddy.
I just don't remember who made ours. Rover made some. And I just don't want to sound like an idiot when I say wrong names.
Well, we're just gonna look it up for you, so you don't have to.
In the meantime, David, the Z8, you would say no to that BMW?
Oh, it's ugly.
Okay. To each their own.
Yep. Okay.
It's
All
worth
right.
a lot of money.
That's true.
So
it
we've
is.
gathered BMW product. What else?
I wouldn't buy a Mercedes.
Oh, that's fair. I've never been a
so
super.
let's see. If someone was
Well,
like, "Here's a free Mercedes,"
Here's
I
a
would own
CLK
Mercedes.
GTR.
Yeah, I would own it.
Okay.
I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
What about any supercars?
Ooh.
I'm a supercar hater.
Are you?
So,
Here's the supercars that I like.
Okay.
Ford GT.
okay.
End of list.
So 2005.
Wait. Does that include all Ford GTs?
Right?
Even the new
Where's
one?
that list? Start and stop.
I like the 2005, 6, or was it 4, 5, whatever it is.
5 and 6.
Five.
That
yeah.
that one's top tier.
Okay.
Then the classics.
Okay.
Then the new one.
Okay. Why does that one hit all your buttons, say, instead of something like an NSX or say an Enzo or, an F40 everyone hails as the greatest supercar of all time, quote unquote.
I mean, I recognize people think it's the greatest supercar of all time.
But why is that a hard no for you?
Just
Hard to
Here's the keys.
I don't really like the way that it
0
looks.
Okay.
And I understand it's probably a great driving experience. And if I drove one, I would probably be like, oh man, this thing rules.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen one in person outside of a museum.
Mm-hmm.
And I've definitely never driven one. So 100% of my perspective
And we'll
is
likely
like
never get
looking.
to.
Yeah.
Same.
As like
Yeah.
just looking at pictures on the internet.
Does that mean you never had a supercar as a poster on your wall? Like, what was your poster car?
Oh, good.
Countach.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's a
Grant
Grant
still has that.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like there's a bunch. BMC, British Motor Corporation,
59 to 68.
and
Yep.
then
Aston
Austin Mini, Morris Mini, and Rover Group.
Yeah.
And then
Because they made them from the
Known as
50s until
BL.
2000.
Oh, Leland. Okay,
Yeah.
so the Austin and the Morris were made by Leland.
Leland, yeah.
In 69, the Mini was branded BMW, purchased in...
Interesting.
Yep.
It's kind of like the Willys Jeep.
Yeah, made by a bunch of different manufacturers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Okay, so you had a Countach poster. Poster on the wall was Countach.
But that's still
Yep.
hard no.
I'd have one of those.
Okay.
I've heard some bad things about how they kind of suck to drive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which kind of
Also-
kills it for me.
Also, strangely, the Countach is a reliable vehicle.
Yeah.
It's gotta be
that's,
better
that's
than
what
a-
I've read is like the best thing you can do for a Countach is drive it.
Yeah. No, that's true. You
Yeah.
need to drive it. It's not a car you
Yeah,
let
you don't
sit.
just let it sit.
Yep.
Yeah, and it actually has decent
Yeah.
reliability, better than a lot of the other supercars.
It doesn't help that I'm not a tiny Italian person.
You just go
Right.
on the roof.
Yeah.
We'll make it convertible.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 feet tall, but
you'd
I
fit-
sit taller because I'm also large.
Yeah, you'd probably fit in a Countach
Well, the
though. I mean,
Countach
you get over 6 feet and you're going to probably be a little cramped. but-
Countach you lay in.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
You don't sit. It's
No.
weird. It's kind of
yeah,
like a
it's
Ford
very
car.
reclined.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but can you get in and out of it?
not very well.
Yes.
you kind of roll in and out of it.
It's the biggest problem with a Lotus Elise. Is you can get in it. It's got more room inside than a Miata,
Yeah.
but getting in it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really hurt yourself getting in and out of one of those.
Mm-hmm.
You
Also, for having a Toyota motor, those are really unreliable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of motor issues with that car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do a lot of swaps and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What about
I don't know a lot about that, but
any muscle cars? Classic muscle cars. Any muscle cars is a hard no for you.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
I love muscle cars,
Okay.
but I also have bad experience with muscle cars because I've had the 65 now for 20 years and it still doesn't run.
Yeah. So if you were given one, say,
well, whose
did
fault
ran-
is that?
Wait,
I know it's my fault.
if you were given one that ran, is there one that you'd be like, I'm good? Like I wouldn't take it.
Wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
If it ran,
If it ran,
Yeah,
oof.
That's a tough question.
I know.
Ooh.
I know there's a lot of good ones, but I mean, think of this. If you
I'm
had
trying to think of one
like a
that wouldn't.
Ford Thunderbolt, that's a muscle car. Thunderbolt. It used to be one of the fastest cars ever made by NASCAR design. The windshield's plexiglass, and they removed all the interior from it. That'd be miserable to drive.
Was it sold as a race car?
Mm-hmm. Look it up. We're looking up right now. Ford Thunderbolt.
I'm actually having a hard time thinking of a muscle car that I would say no to.
There it is, the Fairlane Thunderbolt.
Okay, I'm not a Ford Falcon or Fairlane fan.
Yeah.
But I'd still take one for free.
I'd still
I think the reason I wouldn't is because look at it. The rear tires are huge. The front tires are small.
Yeah, I mean, it's built for drag racing nearly.
Yeah, it's what it was built for.
Yeah.
That thing, I think if you're driving that daily or driving that, like an autocross, or even
track. Horrible.
Exactly.
I love that one says Hemi Hunter on the hood.
But, but I'm trying to think of one of the muscle cars would probably be something that'd be like, no, this is a dog. This doesn't drive right. I've talked.
I don't think there's one that I would say no to.
I've talked to.
Here's the thing: all muscle cars drive like shit.
Exactly.
They do.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, they each have their own characteristics, and you got to love it just for that, knowing that it has flaws.
Yeah,
you're not going to jump in that thing and go carve a canyon, though.
No.
Right?
Yeah, you're going to go for a cruise.
You're going to carve it probably with your hood.
No, I'm going to jump in that car and I'm going to go drive it down to the Rod Run, into the World Rod Run, or I'm going to, drive it to my local bar and home, to go play a game of pool or something.
Yeah. So how come muscle cars back then, they couldn't corner, but we get cars that are like Class C, cam class, and they're some of the best driving cars out there after the modify. What stopped people back then, or people who did modify them then? Versus now,
some of them could corner.
Yeah,
they had to do extra work on them.
Racing though.
Yeah, they road raced a lot of those.
Like the Mustang,
cars. Not a Fairlane.
Like the Pirelli
that
Jones
thing was built to go in a
302
straight
did really
line.
good. That was a track car.
Corvettes and Camaros, those were track cars.
Yeah.
Didn't handle great, but they handled better than a Fairlane.
Yeah.
And the guys that were racing them did work on them so that they could corner better, and they get their corner balances right, or at least to their ability at the time.
Yeah.
Different shocks, spring rates, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think they couldn't corner. I don't think they came out of the factory as great cornering cars, Mustangs included. The 65 to 67 coupes, they didn't handle great.
Yeah.
They had their issues.
I would also argue a lot of it has to do with tire technology.
For sure.
Yeah,
it's
think of that.
Yep.
A 1960s tire is just a piece of junk compared to anything you can buy today.
That's true.
I think the shock angles and stuff like that were a big deal too, right? I mean,
it's the progression of technology and what we learned through racing. Honestly, how things from front end setup, toe and camber and everything else.
And everything changed when the IFS independent rear suspension came in, not just front. Right?
Yeah, 2015 for the Mustang.
Is that when it happened?
Yeah.
When did the Corvette do that?
2060s? Or
pretty early.
For the Mustang, I think, right? No.
Sorry.
First independent suspension was 2004, but we can get readily available to 2015, right?
Technically, the first one was 99. The best ones are in the 0304s.
Okay.
They're the most well-known ones.
Was 99, did the Cobra have it at the time then still?
Yeah, just the Cobra.
Okay.
The standard cars are all stick cars.
Okay, I didn't realize the Cobra had independent then. Okay. So we found the hard list.
Okay. All right. Last topic, I think.
Okay.
Most interesting thing you saw this week?
Okay.
I think I sent it. That BMW. It looked like a street bike, but it was it had dirt bike tires on it, like kind of very reminiscent of like a cafe racer. Or
it looked like the
bobber.
big wheel.
Interesting.
Yeah, it looked like kind of a bobber with a dirt bike tire, I guess.
Huh.
I don't remember where you sent it, so I might not be able to find it now.
It would have been Insta spam.
Is that on our chat? Always Tangent chat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'll go.
Okay.
You might want to look this one up, Jeremy. Successor to the GT40. You know what it is, Grant?
GT70?
No.
The GT90?
F3L.
F3L.
Look up a Ford F3L.
I'll have to see. If I see it, I might know that.
You might.
I thought it was the GT70.
Has no, this is yep, there we go.
You one of those?
No.
Okay.
I just ran across this. I
Okay.
would love to see one,
Interesting.
but it never went into production. Only 3 were ever made.
It's weird because it looks like a Ferrari 206.
It does. Yep.
Really Ferrari.
Yep.
Similar to that.
68, 69 Ford F3L.
Wow.
Only 3 ever made.
When did the
V8 3-liter Cosworth.
A 3-liter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
V8 3-liter?
Yep.
Damn.
That's also really interesting
This is a
considering.
screamer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was going to be the next, Ford supercar.
I still think the 60s had some of the most innovative cars out there. Like, that just shows it's like, hey, look at this.
Absolutely.
Different.
Yeah.
Never see anything like that on the road right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think the closest thing you see on the road right now is a Ferrari P3-4, their new supercar they're trying to make. That's for the super wealthy, maybe. And that would only be as of last year they came up with something like that. Nothing else looks like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I get a little disinterested in the current crop of quote unquote supercars.
Yeah.
Because they're so
The same.
They are. I mean, everybody's trying to go for faster, higher horsepower. Can we make one with 2,000 horsepower that'll go 300 miles an hour, and it cost $8 million?
You've got...
But will it
It's
turn?
so,
Like, who cares?
It's so unobtainium that nobody even cares.
I mean, you
anymore.
got Bugatti coming out with a W16. They're getting rid of V16. They're getting rid of the W engines. They're coming back to V engines, and that's the new big thing. And it's been around since the 90s.
And gosh, I had another one, but I'll let you go ahead.
My most interesting thing I've seen was because I was in Cabo for most of this the week before last. I was sick this week. I think my most interesting thing I saw was a lot of the cars there that we don't see in America.
I was going to ask you if you saw anything good down there.
Almost all the Uber drivers that were driving drove manual cars, which was surprising seeing newer cars that still were manual. But I think the one that kind of shocked me the most to see was a new midget MG. It was...
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm almost positive it was a rebranded Jetta because the interior looks so the same, but it was an MG. It said midget on it. Actually, I'm not sure if it's a midget. I know it's an MG. But it was a manual car, and it was just weird seeing that. There was also some other brands, I'm trying to remember the names that we saw down there that were just different, but they just seemed badge swapped.
Yeah. I thought of the same thing because I was just in Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Got back yesterday or something, day before. Thursday night. And I thought of the same thing, just looking around, trying to see something different, something we don't have. And really the only thing I noticed a lot of, and probably nobody cares, is they have a lot of vans and that kind of stuff, like that we don't get here. Different brands, even some of the Toyota / Honda / whatever. Stuff that we don't get, models that we don't get. They're not anything great. They're not fancy. They're just your regular everyday stuff. But it's interesting.
They just changed just a little bit where it's not here.
Yeah, some of them are quite obviously different vehicles, that we don't even get them. But
probably safety ratings or something.
Oh, that probably does have a little bit to do with it, but also how they use them. You know, especially in a tourist area, you get a lot of vans decked out with eight seats in it for transporting people.
The one thing that stood out the most while I was there, though, was surprisingly, there was an orange Mustang, Liger year. Like an 05 to 09. It looked like maybe an 06 orange. That was the only sports car I saw the entire time I was there. It was very weird seeing that. And that was like, when that was driving around, people were like, oh, look, American big muscle car.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're like, man, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see any good cars worth note.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it's kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
I did, However, there are no rules on the roads down there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
it's
man.
absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter if there's lanes or not. They're driving this way and that way and honking at each other and cutting each other off. Nobody really seems to care.
That's why you grab your phone, you dig into it, and you don't look up and be like, whatever happens, happens. And
No, I was kind of laughing at it. It was insane.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, nobody cares.
I rode in the front seat in China one time.
Oh my gosh.
And never did it again the entire time we were there. I was terrified.
I'm surprised you were able to run in the front seat of a rickshaw.
They don't have rickshaws, dude.
They don't have front seats. I can't find the other car that I had thought I saved for myself.
Okay.
But anyway, anything good for you, David?
I don't know if it counts as this week because it was last weekend, but a guy that showed up to the WMC day at the Autocross, it was a Lotus Elan
This car's
towed in on a Maserati. And it was
wow.
Tell me you got money without telling me you got money.
Yeah, he was screaming, I got money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was quick too.
That was the one that was on 3 wheels, front wheel lifted off the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That guy's quick.
And it was wet as hell when he went. And he went like a bat out of hell. It was pretty cool.
Oh, darn.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's such a cool car.
Classic black and gold.
Mm-hmm.
So what Maserati did he tow it in on?
Some Maserati SUV. I don't know.
Okay.
Significantly more modern than the Lotus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because that Lotus is what, is 74 or something like that?
I don't know the year range.
Okay. But yeah, it's a 4-cylinder mid-engine car. No, if you see in WC, that's a really cool car.
Right on. Anything else?
All I can think of as jets I've been seeing. I've been like YouTube targeted by like jet ads for private jet. It's like $30 million plane. Here's how to buy it. And I'm like, wow, that's very interesting.
Oh man, those are on mine all over the place right now.
Really?
Too. Yeah.
I mean, just
Private. Not even private.
by the
what do you
jet.
call 'em?
It's called the Jet Company or something, right?
Yeah.
Is that one guy? Yeah. I don't know why,
Charter
but
jets.
Yeah, we're being targeted.
I haven't,
here
but
for-
I will probably get them now. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. It's interesting. I will say that. Definitely a different world. Never thought about. And yeah,
I'm actually wondering if I can get one out of here up to the island in Alaska. Be a way quicker flight.
yeah. But in terms of special stuff, not off the top of my head, I don't think. I feel like there is. I did some research trying to find some Mustang. Oh, I did see that 77 Corvette I sent you. Did you see that one?
I did see that.
What'd you think of that one?
Looks like a lot of the other ones of that era.
You specifically want a 78 though, right?
No, I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I just found a 78 that I thought was interesting.
Okay.
But
It was hot
I need
enough
to
look at.
I need to make more room in my shop before I can
All of us do.
pull trigger on another car.
Yeah. Jeremy's got the most room in his garage.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
You keep saying
He's got enough room, but you can't get anything up the driveway
Exactly.
because the
it would have to be lifted.
is straight up and down.
Yeah.
That is the dumbest driveway ever.
Amen
I
to
mean,
that.
good Lord.
I'd rather take a project up to my grandma's house and put it up there, and I've got 500 feet of gravel driveway.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's awful. Well, I think that is it for today, gentlemen. David, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
You got
Happy
any-
to be here.
You got any shout outs, David, you want to give out? Any social media or anything?
Yeah, you on social?
I know you have a YouTube channel.
I do have a YouTube channel. My socials for the car is team_snuggles.
Yay.
Wow. Cool.
Jeremy, or he's writing it
Taking
down.
I did. Sorry. Taking a note.
What about our socials?
Yeah, we can go through that again.
Yeah.
Grant, you're good
Grant?
at it.
So follow us at Untitled Car Projects on any major
Yep,
podcast.
okay. Untitled Car Project is Instagram.
Instagram, our
Threads.
our
Untitled
Twitter
Car
is
Pro.
Untitled Car Pro,
Yep.
and our email us at untitledcarproject@gmail.com.
Bang.
We want to hear about your projects. We want to hear about your stories. Email us. Let us know if you'd like to be on the show. We want to hear about everything you guys have got to say and then more.
You bet.
Yeah.
And hit follow on your podcast app.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And David, we really appreciate you coming on today.
No, it's no problem.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I just hope I was interesting.